This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Matthews beat McKinnon to the punt. Boldy looking to push through. Back Boldy to the net. He scores! For Canada. There's Vince Marner. Marner across the net. Oh, Taves had a wide open goal. Put it through the crease.
Marner looks for Taves on the backside. That puck's is going in. He got the paddle boosh.
Wow. And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes pokes it around the car. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
This is all about our country right now. I love the USA. I love my teammates. It's unbelievable. The USA Hockey Brotherhood is so strong, and we have so much support from ex-players. I'm so proud to be American today.
Won't you fly free, bird, yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into a Monday edition of the Fan Morning Show with Kevin Bowen, my man James Boyd, Mark Dykton on the intro right there, and they did it. They pulled it off. After I watched the second and third period and Canada tied that game at 1, and I'm thinking to myself, my wife is like, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, it's starting to look pretty dicey. But you know what the United States had, James Boyd and Kevin Bowen, that Canada did not have yesterday? Connor Hellebuyck. That's who they had. That's who they had. One of the great goaltending performances you're ever going to see with everything that was on the line going on. That was fantastic. Jack Hughes spitting chicklets and scoring game-winning goals. Kevin, it doesn't get any more hockey than that, does it?
What's the saying? You stand on your head? Is that what you do when you have an outstanding goalie performance?
He stood on his head. He stood on an index finger. He stood on everything. I kind of got the feeling, Mark Dykton, things were going USA's way when there was an open net and Hellebuyck blocked a shot with the skinny part of his stick.
That's going to be one of the all-time Olympic moment, like, screenshots. That was insane. I think they said after the game, they're like, hang it above your mantle on your fireplace if you're Connor Hellebuyck, because that is an all-time moment.
That was outstanding. You're talking about the photo from overhead, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was outstanding. Incredible. James, I know you are not the biggest hockey guy coming in here, but you're all Team USA. What were your thoughts, feelings, and emotions as Team USA was going through it yesterday?
Well, I would say the most emotional I got, and I'm not really an emotional sports watcher at all, mainly because you can't really cheer for anything in my field, but obviously I would like for the Team USA to win the Olympics. But when they brought out the children of the Gaudreau brothers afterwards and had them out there with the jersey, and having read about both of them, that one really got to me, because that to me is probably the essence of sports, bring people together and love on people and stuff like that. So when they got on the ice and you see the little kids smiling and, the emotional weight of that moment, because in one moment you're extremely happy and in the other you're probably thinking, boy, I wish my guys were here. That got to me, Jeff. But overall, just an amazing performance. And like I said, a nice tip of the cap to some guys who should still be here.
Everybody was making a big deal about the fact that it was starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and how did the National Hockey League and hockey let that happen in the scheduling? And guys, it's just part of a bigger overall thing with the Olympics, and I don't know if anybody's noticed, but you do have DVRs now. If you want to sleep in until 10 and then wake up and watch the hockey game, you could do that. But nobody was unhappy with the result when it was all said and done. It was on in our house. Everybody was into it. It was
Are
a
you
lot
guys
of fun.
DVR people?
If you need
I
to.
can't do that. People tell me they do that. How?
No, not for live sports. I can't.
It's tough for live sports.
My phone will tell me everything. I feel like I have notifications on. No, I cannot do that.
On a Sunday morning, if you want to sleep, first of all, you'd be asleep, right?
Get up. Be patriotic. The most patriotic thing you can do is get out the bed.
I watched it live. I'm just saying the option was there. If people wanted the 2 hours of extra sleep, they're not going to be bothered by their phone.
Skip that
They
option.
could have put that up.
They got to be locked in like you, Jeff.
I love it.
I'm not buying it.
Kevin Bowen, how was your sports weekend?
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture sleeping until 10 a.m., to be honest with you.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Boy, Friday night was an ass-kicking, right? Up there in West Lafayette. That was a thorough beatdown by the Boilermakers over the Hoosiers, the Seniors. Quite the statement, I would say, from those three up there on Friday. So, yeah, that had all my attention then. And, I guess a good weekend for the Pacers. I just I can't believe this is going to be how the final 25 games are for them. And then obviously yesterday, just all of it. And I kind of got caught up into it. Well, I guess you got to go back to Friday because after we signed off, we had USA Canada women. On that aspect of it. And the Slovakia game was also Friday. Now that I think about it, so yesterday to me, it's just I feel this way sometimes about soccer in the World Cup. When you're not the dominant country in the world at that sport, I find myself the gravitational pull is more for me of like, wait a minute, we're not the best at this sport. So now we're kind of like the underdog, if you will. Now I'm really locked in. Now I'm like really intrigued. And I get that soccer is probably on a different level, how big of an underdog the U.S. is versus hockey. Hockey, really, it's just these two countries, I guess, when you think about it. And the difference between hockey and soccer is just is the pace. I mean, the fact that my heart was beating that much to stop a 5-on-3 in the second period at 8:55 in the morning on a Sunday, I'm like, what in the world? I mean, I gotta get this checked out. So yeah, that was epic. Watching that whole thing, and Jack Hughes just seems like such a fitting character with his whole look post game and all of it there. He just seemed like the perfect American to score that game winning goal and the whole sequence. You can hear it there in the intro that Mark had. He kind of pokes the puck to get it started on fast break, for lack of a better term, and what a great pass. I forget who had the assist there, but that was a hell of a pass right to Jack Hughes, and the rest is history.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch. The weekend has come and gone. The Olympics have come and gone. They had the closing ceremonies last night. I don't know about you guys. I liked having something on the TV with stakes attached to it for 2 weeks in a row. I dig. Even, I'm probably more of a summer Olympics guy. I love the hockey, obviously, and there's a couple of other things I love about all the Olympics, but I got used to having something just on almost 24/7. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe the Paralympics is coming up next. If you want to dive into that world, my Twitter picture actually is me on a sled hockey in college because we did a little Paralympic coverage there. And I remember getting on the sled hockey because I got dared to do it. And I was like, I guess, skating against some kids who were, 7 or 8. And they kicked my what. Oh, that was humbling. So if you want to, continue to expand your perspective a little bit, I encourage you to watch that when that kicks off here in about a week or so. But yeah, I mean, overall, Jeff, whenever the Olympics is on, I feel like I'm less productive, but I don't know. I feel like that is a good thing because I'm supporting our country. Yep,
that's just how it goes. Also, Indiana Pacers continue their season last night. They didn't play with T.J. McConnell. They didn't have Aaron Nesmith, but they hung in there. They lose by 4 points to the Dallas Mavericks, and it still is weird and bizarre to think, the Dallas Mavericks snapped the 10-game losing streak, but it was against our Pacers, so that's okay right now. I'm still grappling with that, James.
Well, yeah, I think one of the bigger news items, and we don't have to get too much into it because it's just kind of what it is, but Tyrese Halliburton has shingles.
Yeah.
Rick Carlisle revealed that pregame. Shout out to my guy Mike Curtis, who covers the Mavericks. I caught up with him last night. He was in town, and he was telling me, I was asking Carlisle before the game about, how do you adjust the game plan when you have high-level guards like Kyrie and Tyrese Halliburton now? And he goes, hey, by the way, yeah, he has shingles. And I'm thinking, this is like something out of a movie. I mean, you're already out for the season due to the Achilles, and you're 26 years old with shingles. I mean, it sounds like, obviously, that's pretty serious, something that isn't like life-threatening, but extremely uncomfortable. And, yeah, I just feel for the guy, man. I mean, Tyrese, Rick said he's still in good spirits. Not too surprised by that, but, man, I'm just, hoping and praying that mentally he's good with everything going on, because that's another, just weird obstacle you have to overcome in a season that already probably is weighing on you a lot.
I think it probably more than anything is just he's going to have to be away from the team for 2 or 3 weeks. I think that's going to bring him down as much as anything, knowing how much he likes being around the team and being on that bench.
You started the Pacers topic, Jeff, by saying the Pacers continue their season. It's such like an elementary yet accurate way, I think, to describe the next 2 months. Like, oh yeah, the Pacers play tonight. Whoop-de-doo. That's kind of how I feel. And I hate that I feel that way.
Yes,
but
I think we all do.
That's my reality. I can't hide from it. I could fake the energy. I could be like, oh man, Kobe Brown. Woohoo. Yeah, that was awesome. There's just no juice. And it's why I said to you guys on Friday, I'm looking forward to watching a game that actually matters in our state tonight. And it looked like it mattered for the home team a lot more than the visiting team. So Bobby Rondale will join us coming up 9 o'clock. Again, that was a thorough beatdown by Purdue up there. Biggest loss, I believe, for Indiana in that series since 1969. They've played a lot of basketball games since 1969, Purdue and Indiana. So, again, quite the statement by those seniors. Indiana will still have to find one more of substance. I believe that they got Michigan State coming up this weekend. I think that's Sunday. That could be very meaningful for them. Purdue will also have Sparty coming up Thursday. So, big time. I know it hasn't been great for Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Wren when Indiana's been the opposition. But if that is indeed out and they are the last one, they don't play in the Big Ten tournament, big time from all three of those guys.
All right, lots to talk about today. One thing I did want to mention before we go too far into the show, a horrible, tragic report and story over the weekend from Southern Indiana. Rondale Moore, one of the most exciting football players that I have ever seen in my life, certainly when he was at Purdue and later on in the NFL with Cardinals and Vikings. And I had to read the article twice, James Boyd, that he was found in a garage dead at the age of 25 this past weekend. It looks like it was a suicide. And it just, man, you talk about for all the highs that there are in sports, I don't. Like I said, I had to read it twice, and just your heart sinks into your stomach. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no words to really share that can change how tragic that is. Certainly praying for his family and loved ones. But, yeah, you saw a number of players post that they had reached out to him and feel for him, and the stress that comes with, being injured and trying to chase the dream and stuff like that. So, just horrible, man. And like you said, Jeff, one of those things that you don't want to believe is true, but unfortunately it is.
All right, lots to talk about today, and we will get to the Olympics. We'll talk about the Pacers. Got a lot of other things coming up this week. It is the week of the Combine, and that's going to take center stage for most of the rest of the week. And we'll also take all of your thoughts and comments at 239-1070 on the Fan text line. Also, you can call us up, 239-1070. It's the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
checked out. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Happy Monday and welcome into the Fan Morning Show along with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. We will start internationally over in Italy yesterday. The United States early morning game against Canada for the gold medal, and in overtime they win it. The third gold medal for men's hockey in the Olympics, but the first one since 1980, 46 years to the day. Mark Dykton, do we have a game-winning goal to listen to today?
And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes puts it around McCarr. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington, I don't know, about 30 minutes after he lost a couple of teeth, getting hot sticked in the face, comes back, didn't even miss a shift. He gets the game winner in overtime. 2-1 was the final score. And the story again, Connor Hellebuck, 41 saves, just an unbelievable performance. United States caps a big Winter Olympics. Most medals they've ever won in the Winter Games. They finished second overall, 33 medals, 12 gold. Norway had 41 medals overall, 18 of those gold. Of course, over the weekend, Alyssa Liu, really last week, first women's singles winner in skating for the United States in 24 years. And now hockey, and the women also won, and there were gold medals all the way around. It was just a fun 2 weeks to take part in, and why not take part in, but through the TV to just watch and celebrate.
Yeah, my goal for life, Jeff, is to move forward with the energy of Alyssa Liu because she has the right attitude about a lot of things, I think. She's got to figure it out.
It was a lot of fun. Your biggest memory of these Olympic Games, Kevin?
Well, emotional watching the curling teams have to exit there, but we did get the one medal in mixed. I obviously yesterday, and I thought James hit the nail on the head there in the opener. Can't imagine too many times in my life I have welled up before noon on a Sunday, but when the Goudreau kids came out on the ice there and they had the jersey and just that entire scene was quite something. And just the theater, I guess, of both the gold medal wins, both in overtime. The 3-on-3 is just wild drama. I mean, it's, within 5 seconds, it's your scoring opportunity, their scoring opportunity. You're scoring, people, much smarter hockey people have broken down that Jack Hughes play there when he and you hear Kenny Albert say he pokes it, out of there. The risk of him trying to poke that first puck there, because if he doesn't and he misses, Canada, they were saying, would have a 2-on-0 on our side of the ice. And his ability to poke it then led to the numbers that Kenny Albert referenced there. So just all of it. I mean, Jack Hughes' brother has the game winner against Sweden. I'm like, what is this? Like a local, travel baseball team where one brother knocks the other brother in? It's just all of it. I was eaten up yesterday.
I heard the perfect description from somebody on Twitter. I wish I knew who it was, but I remember it, James. They said of the two brother pairings for the United States, the Tkachuk brothers and the Quinn brothers, the Tkachuk brothers are the kids in your neighborhood who hop your fence and swim in your pool when you're on vacation, and the Quinn brothers are the ones that show up and mow your lawn without having been asked to.
They need a little bit of yin and yang for that.
I love it, but it's all good. And the United States finishes up a nice run at the Winter Olympics. All right, NBA last night, Indiana Pacers over at the Fieldhouse lose to the Dallas Mavericks 134-130. Chris Middleton, who's been a Pacer killer for a while, had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. It snaps a 10-game Mavericks losing streak. Pascal Siakam had 30 points. Andrew Nembhard had 22. Pacers now, Kevin, if you're keeping track at home, have the second worst record in the NBA.
Great start to the second part of the year from a tank perspective. Terrific start with these 3 losses, all to teams very much in those standings. So, 76ers tomorrow night inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Again, Aaron Nesmith will be out for an entire week, and obviously the very weird headline yesterday of Tyrese Halliburton likely away from the team for multiple weeks due to shingles. I have not had it, but I have heard that it is brutal.
I've had it. It sucks.
Oh,
I had it last year.
Did you really, Mark?
Yeah.
Just
how did I miss
welts
that?
that won't leave your skin alone, and it hurts and it's irritating. I had a family member
Is
that
that
had
how
it,
you
right?
faked more PTO?
I had a mild case of it too, and it was still a pain. It was like right in the center of my, like right on the side of my back. And like, yeah, it usually starts on it's usually the doctor's like, it's weird because you'll be on one side of your body and not the other, but it'll be on like both sides of you. So I had it on my right side of my chest and my right side of my back. And then it just had to be like, you had to put some medicine in it and take some pills and steroids and all that stuff. But it was a mild case. I can't imagine anything worse than that because it just sucked.
Wow.
It was terrible.
Hope he gets better and gets well very, very soon. This week, the Pacers will play the Philadelphia 76ers and the Charlotte Hornets. College basketball over the weekend. You talked about it Friday night. Purdue just put it on Indiana, Kevin Bowen, 93-64. It got away early, and they just kept throwing gas on the fire.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Absolute ass kicking there by the Boilers. I thought their seniors, their big three, were outstanding. A statement in a series where it hasn't really gone, their dominant way like so much of their 4 years have there. So very impressive. I enjoyed Braden Smith, the drinking of the milk post game. Fox always doing a wonderful job with their Indy 500 promos there. And Omar Meyer. I mean, you want to talk about big flurry off the bench. I know a lot of people were extremely high on him coming into his freshman season at Purdue. We'll see. When you try to win 4 to get to the Final Four in March, sometimes you do need someone that's not one of your big guys to step up, and that was quite the impressive performance by him in the second half there.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out to Fletcher Lawyer, who I thought played one of his better games the last couple of weeks in that game on Friday night. Also on Saturday, Butler a win over Xavier, 80-75. Michael Ajayi had 24 points, and all of a sudden the Bulldogs are starting to play pretty well. Center Grove won the state tournament in wrestling over the weekend. The Indy Star Wrestler of the Year, I saw Michael White from Lawrence Central, 190 pounds. I don't know if you read that article, James. He and his family, they had been homeless just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, again, just an incredible journey, incredible story. And honestly, this is why I love Indy Star. I know they're my competition at The Athletic, but their high school coverage is second to none. And I think it's important to highlight those kids and those communities because, I mean, look, man, I get it. We all love pro sports, but that stuff is the backbone, I think, of our little society here.
Yeah, Joshua Heron, I believe, shout out to the writer of that piece.
Yes.
Really enjoyed it. I thought very, very well done. And the Michael White story, outstanding there. Speaking of Center Grove, their girls will play for a state championship, undefeated coming up. They won a very low-scoring game. I saw
29-26.
Yeah, I thought it was a misprint when I first saw it.
A win is a win, but I should get on my soapbox in June and talk about this, but bring me a shot clock.
Is that a shot clock?
Right,
Bring
yeah.
me a shot clock,
Totally.
good Lord.
Yeah, so Center Grove will play Norwell for a 4A state title. Roncalli will be in the 3A. Not a lot of local flavor here coming up this weekend for the girls, but Roncalli and Belmont there in the 3A state finals.
All right, auto racing Tyler Reddick wins again. Michael Jordan, not only does he win the big lawsuit against NASCAR, but all of a sudden his team is winning races. Their second one this year. Tyler Reddick in a Pinnacle Toyota got the win yesterday.
He looked so happy, too.
Yeah, that was Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Some people just need something competitive in their life, and this is like, hey, candy for him.
And coming up this coming Sunday, we start our IndyCar series. Kevin, the Firestone GP of St. Petersburg. Last year, Alex Palou got the win. He'll defend his race championship Sunday. Can you believe it's IndyCar time already?
Yeah, I can't wait. And a busy month of March. We have not really had this with IndyCar here in recent years, but they will start the season with a flurry. I think Arlington and Phoenix. And
Phoenix is next, yeah.
There might be one other one, maybe Barber. Yeah, so it's a very busy here first month. Just a reminder, we'll be at the Combine the rest of the week. Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen will meet the media coming up late tomorrow. And then hopefully, I believe, we usually have Steichen and Ballard across our 3 shows at some point here throughout the week. So we'll keep you posted on that end. But yeah, Combine week is here. Workouts in terms of on-field, I believe Thursday is the first day for that. So basically, prospects come here. They're on a 4-day cycle. Once they're here, you work out on the final day of that 4-day schedule.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up in a moment, we'll talk more about the Indiana Pacers and the Colts. What are they looking to get done this week at the Combine? We'll tell you all about it next as we continue on a Monday morning. It's 93.5 and 107.5, The Fan.
Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Welcome to the Fan Morning Show. It's a Monday morning. Back up and at 'em today. Hopefully, this latest bout of winter weather will move on through soon. I was surprised. It just kept snowing yesterday. I don't know where. Did you get any snow where you were living, Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
I mean, I was none too pleased.
Yeah, not a good time. Even the dog was like, wait, I thought we were done with this at this point in time. But it also means as we start to turn from February to March that the NFL Combine comes back to town, and it will open up tomorrow and run through the next week over at the Convention Center and various other medical sites and stuff, although they've kind of put everything into one big area over there. That's what we love about Indianapolis. But we do this every year, and obviously the Colts have their thing they've got to take care of. What's the one thing, James, you're looking to as somebody who covers the NFL and the Colts this weekend? What's this Combine going to be about?
Well, first it's about catching up with all your friends. Got a chance to see Nate Atkins last night. Stayed out probably way too late. Tame night for myself. I don't drink, and I would say tame night overall for everyone involved, but yeah, no sleep this week, no rest for the weary, I suppose. But as far as on the field action when it comes to the Colts, I think there are a number of big picture questions we can throw at Chris Ballard tomorrow, and we certainly will. I think one of them that I'm curious about, Kevin, is Charvarius Ward Sr. What is his future with this team? Will he play football in 2026? And if he does not, how does that change perhaps your draft approach, your free agency approach, things of that nature? So very curious to catch up with him. And then obviously the quarterback situation is not one, Kevin, that you can overlook. Yes, we think it's a formality that you will bring Daniel Jones back as your QB1, but at the same time, how's his progress? Contract negotiations, how's that going? He'll probably be a little mum on that. He typically is, which most GMs are. And then also Anthony Richardson. What's the latest on him? Can he see fully? And how does that change perhaps his future here or elsewhere with a different team?
Hey, just to remind everybody, week from Tuesday is the end of the franchise tag window. So in the next 8 days, I guess, the Colts have to make a decision with the franchise tag. So we are about to start to get some answers, not just necessarily the words of Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard coming up tomorrow and the rest of this week. On the Mooney Ward front, James, yeah, that is obviously a question. I do have this thought, though, in regards to it. And, again, you were front and center when Charvarius Ward was talking at the end of the season about his situation for 2026. Even if he says he's playing this season, can you take him at his word? Should you all of a sudden say, oh, we're good at corner, we got Charvarius Ward, let's put that down low on the needs list? Because, again, his own words at the end of the season, when I have my next concussion, I'll probably be done. And he also added, I believe, and again, James, you were there. I think Jeff and I were finishing out that final hour of the first show after the season ended. He said something to the effect of, like, he was on IR to end the season, but didn't he, run into somebody, late in the year, and, that caused another symptom?
Yeah, he said he, bumped his head training or something.
Right.
So he kind of had some funny symptoms.
Yeah, obviously it's good news if he plays, but unfortunately, if he's this susceptible, and I guess I don't truly know that. Again, the medical hat is easily the least educated hat I put on.
You have a lot of nice hats, though.
Big
third down here hat on. Beautiful.
I almost put big third period on it this morning.
Put some tape over the top of it.
Mr. Hellebuck there and stand it on his head. But that is a question of, again, I haven't talked about corner, so my hand is raised. That much is a huge need, but I'm kind of like, even if Charvarius Ward says he's playing, James, unfortunately, can you take him at his word?
Yeah, I wonder if his future is tangential to the future of Kenny Moore with this team. I know Kenny Moore is on an expensive contract. He's another one I haven't really talked about, but if you're looking to get cheaper at a position or perhaps move on or something like that, Kenny Moore is someone to keep an eye on, because Justin Wally, you drafted a cornerback in the 3rd round last year, had a promising training camp towards ACL and training camp, missed his entire rookie season. So in a way, if Charvarius Ward walks away, do you feel okay because you have Wally and you have Kenny Moore? Or do you say we need a little more reinforcement there? So to me, again, this is a good reason to catch up with Chris Ballard, try to get him to spill the beans at least a little bit on some of his ideas or thinking or just some of the contingency plans you have to have in place because, yeah, Kevin, the direct quote that he had at the end of the season, Mooney Ward, was, my daddy told me to retire, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I just got to see how I feel this offseason. I know going into next season, if I do come back and play again, if I get one more concussion, I for sure will probably retire. Hopefully, knock on wood, I don't get no more concussions and don't have to deal with that anymore. And he was very candid about just all of the symptoms he dealt with. And the quote that I didn't read, and I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, sorry about that, but he goes on to say, Jeff, that I've done everything I can in football. I was undrafted. I made a lot of money. He mentioned that a couple of times, which respect. He has made a lot of money. He's earned it. Won a Super Bowl, started in multiple Super Bowls, all pro. He's done everything you can dream of in the sport. So I wonder even if that part of it is like, okay, well, you know, what am I out here for if I'm putting myself at risk? And I think the term that he used, Jeff, was, I don't want to keep beating my brain up, which, I mean, is very candid for a guy. I mean, most guys in the NFL, just being real, do not even talk about concussions. They don't want to mention it, you know, but he was very real about just the scariness of it. And he said he wants to be there for his family. We know what he went through with his daughter, losing her pretty young, and he made it very clear that he doesn't want to lose anybody else, including himself.
Yeah, especially when you think about yourself in context to your family. They've already had that terrific, horrific, tragic loss. Don't do that with dad as well. And it reminds me that just 2 weeks ago at the Super Bowl weekend when we found out Luke Kuechly's getting into the Hall of Fame, that's a guy that stepped away from the sport probably earlier than people thought he would because he had a series of concussions. And he said, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Mark, we got Dane Brugler Wednesday. Is that what you said?
Correct. Yep.
So draft analyst Dane Brugler will join us live at the Combine like he always does. That'll be on Wednesday. It seems like, you know, another part of this week, the early returns on this year's draft class kind of fits the Colts' needs. And again, when you don't pick until 47 overall, the Colts don't have a pick in round one, of course, you have to rely more on where is the draft depth and not necessarily where is the high-end talent necessarily. Well, it sounds like the depth, there is some at edge rusher and linebacker, which is not something I feel like we've said in recent drafts, and I think is important for the Colts. So, again, we'll get more clarity on all of that this week. Of course, you know, from a local angle, you know, I brought it up last week. I mean, I see mock drafts that have a Westfield and a Lawrence North kid going in round one. That's a question for Greg Rakestraw on Friday that I meant to throw his way last Friday. When's the last time we've had two, call them indie area high schools, going round one of an NFL draft? I'd be hard-pressed to remember that. So with Omar Cooper Jr. and Dylan Thieneman, you know, they are names definitely in round one. Again, Fernando Mendoza will not throw. Quarterbacks are what, Saturday, James? They work out? Do they do them in prime time?
I believe so, yeah. I believe it's Saturday. And then I want to say, actually, I do know this. Fernando is speaking to the media Friday at 8 a.m., and I would expect him to have a huge crowd.
Yeah, so again, that's a little bit of the lay of the land for the week. Prospects get here. They're on a 4-day schedule. You work out the final day of when you're here.
Yeah, and you talk about a crazy draft locally in the first round, but on top of that, you mentioned Mendoza. How about just Indiana University, the football team with a couple of first-round draft picks, and then you throw in, obviously, Omar Cooper kind of intersects the two, but just crazy. And there are plenty of other Indiana players that are going to be putting their wares on display at the Combine. And again, for a team that just went undefeated and won a national championship, they will be, James, well represented at the NFL Combine, as you would expect them to be at this point in time.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I mean, I feel like it's a shift in how we view that program. And honestly, Jeff, what better selling point do you have besides winning the national championship? It's getting guys to the next level and making millions and changing your life. So again, if you're a recruit, if you're a high-level high school athlete right now and you have the IU coaches hitting you up, Kurt Signetti's calling your phone and trying to get in contact with your parents, how do you not pay attention when he can sell you on, okay, you can come here, you can get better here, you can win here, and then you can go on and make millions and change your life?
Yeah, the invited players from Indiana, obviously Fernando Mendoza, running back Roman Hemby, Omar Cooper Jr., and Elijah Surratt, the two wide receivers, tight end Riley Nowakowski, offensive lineman Pat Coogan, linebacker Aiden Fisher, cornerback D'Angelo Pons, safety Lewis Moore. Can you in your life 5 years ago imagine that many guys from Indiana University going to the Combine, much less a couple of them be potential first-rounders, Kevin.
No, not at all. I believe Texas A&M has the most. I want to say it's 13 prospects for them. But, yeah, if you are an IU basketball fan, are you content with the split over Purdue in a season like this? Or is the biggest loss since 1969 of your side of the rivalry, does that embarrassment overshine the split?
If you're an Indiana basketball fan, don't you kind of feel like realistically this was a reset year, brand new coach, brings in a whole bunch of new people, so many transfers coming in. This is just kind of a year for him to lay down what he's trying to get accomplished and get done. And you could say at the end of it, yeah, they got waxed in that second game, but they get a split of Purdue. They've had a nice win or two along the way. And now you're starting to figure out, okay, at this level, he says, all right, I see what I need here, and I see what I need to add there. Do you look at it that way, or do you just all you can see is a blowout loss right now at Purdue and say, man, here we are again, going right back to where we've been?
Well, to answer the question, you're asking me to be rational or not. And as a fan, I'm not being rational. I'm feeling like, hey, why did we just lose by 1 million? We show what we can do. Let's figure it out. Let's have a better showing at Mackey. I mean, come on now. And then this time of the year, you're not thinking about split and stuff. You're thinking about building your tournament resume. But realistically, I think you take the split. But, I mean, have you ever met a rational Indiana Hoosiers basketball fan? I mean, and this isn't a dig on them. I mean, they still believe, and they should, we should be a better program than what we are. And I get that it's year one, but selfishly, I think after you've shown a certain level you can play at, Kevin, you're probably thinking, man, we got to have a better losing is losing, but you know what I mean? You want to show up and say you had a chance, because that game Friday night, boy, was that a get-right game for Purdue.
Yeah, Jeff, it's funny. When you say reset year with a first-year head coach, are those a thing anymore in today's portal era?
A lot of folks looking at the Indiana football team going, why can't we make it all happen in 1 year?
Right. So I don't know, like the whole, hey, we need to grow into the job and I need to, and my freshmen are become juniors and seniors. Well, Trent Sisley ain't sniffing the floor right now in meaningful minutes for Indiana.
You mentioned it last week, Kevin, Michigan, like they've kind of reloaded. And
yeah, I mean, think about Michigan.
Michigan, though. But.
Right, but think about the 2 years for Dusty May. He walks in there year one, Sweet 16 team. Vlad Golden, Danny Wolf, both those transfers, obviously he brought Golden with him, but Wolf, he did not. Then they lose their I believe they lost their top 3 scorers from last year. And now look at them. They obviously are, right up there with any team in college basketball, if not the best. So, yeah, I think it's hard a little bit just to say, oh, yeah, reset year. Hey, I don't know. Maybe expectations are when you've missed the tournament so often over the last 10 years, maybe it's just, hey, scratch and claw anyway to make the tournament. And with one more big win, I think Lenardi had him just barely out of Dayton after this weekend. So they're not comfortably in, but they still are in brackets right now.
Yeah, speaking of Michigan, did you guys watch any of that Duke game on Saturday night?
I did, yeah. Boy, Purdue fans were probably like, hey, Elliot Cadeau, why didn't you look like that against us there?
Yeah, he was broke in that game.
He was great against Purdue.
I love that phrase.
No, he was broke. But I will say, Cameron Boozer, I know we haven't talked about him a lot on these airwaves because it's been dominated by the weirdness of the Darren Peterson, great, not great, do you want to play, do you not want to play saga. AJ DeBanza's been going off as of late. If I had to make a list today, he'd probably be number one, considering he just played 40 minutes in a game and helped BYU get a big win. But, man, quietly, if that's even a thing, Cameron Boozer is the National Player of the Year. Like, he is the best player in college basketball right now. And I'm not saying, like, talent-wise. I mean, if you're talking about production and who he's doing it against and has overall team looks, he's the best player in college basketball. And, again, I think that's why we talk about, like, the big four in this class. And I would say, outside of those three I mentioned, the other one would be Caleb Wilson from North Carolina, why the Pacers had those protections in place for 1 through 4, because I get it. Like, Cameron Boozer might not be like the sexy pick in this draft and maybe doesn't have as high a ceiling as the other guys, but do not get it twisted. That kid can play. And I mean, overall game when it comes to, scoring, rebounding, and I was impressed by his playmaking in that game against Duke. I thought he made some really great reads out of double teams to get his guys good looks. And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy that, that guy has been as good as he's been on a team, as good as it's been, and he kind of just gets thrown in there when we talk about, potential number 1 picks. I wouldn't draft him number 1 overall, but I would not feel, too bad about 3 or 4 if that's the guy.
Is it bad? I see Houston at Kansas on the schedule tonight, 9 o'clock, and I think, I wonder how Darren Peterson will be a late scratch in that one.
Well, he had his worst game of the year over the weekend. They lose to Cincinnati, and he played 32 minutes in that game. He was only 1 of 7 from three-point range.
He doesn't look right now. I'm serious. And I'm watching him, not getting much lift on the jumper, not moving around very well. I mean, I don't know what he'll have to say to NBA teams, and he'll still go high in the draft, but where he was, I believe it was like that first half against BYU where he kind of took over you all, and he took it to AJ DeBanza, and I was like, boy, that's the duel for the number 1 pick. That is aged like milk in the sun, milk in the desert since then, because he hasn't been consistent enough. And yeah, Jeff, he played 32 minutes, but I mean, he didn't look like his usual typical explosive self. And I'm talking about usual dating back to like the high school days. I mean, just the explosion that we're seeing back then till now, something's going on. And yeah, I'm very curious about that. And boy, his medical records will be the talk of the NBA draft for sure.
And I don't know if you saw it in that game. Cincinnati wins that game. They hammered him in the second half.
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, I was waiting for kind of the flurry from, perhaps Darren Peterson and company to get back in that game, especially at home. But boy, they got their teeth kicked in. And I mean, it happens throughout a college season. Very rare, obviously, for a team to go undefeated. We just talked to, a few weeks back, we were talking about IU going undefeated and how Miami of Ohio is the last team left, I believe, being undefeated. But
they won again on Friday, Travis Steele and company.
Yeah, and boy, is he rolling. Did you see that he also mentioned, Kevin, they were asking him about like, hey, contract extension. He's like, yeah, I got one. I did not sign it. So I was like, okay, Travis Steele, make sure you play your cards right there. But yeah, getting back to the overall point, man, it is tough to play great every single game. And I think Kansas, to be as great as they want to be, they need Darren Peterson to be great. And he hasn't been as of late.
Speaking of Miami of Ohio, did you see that big celebration they were having for Team USA's hockey win with Jack Hughes getting the overtime goal yesterday?
I saw celebrations everywhere. I didn't. Did Jack Hughes go to Miami of Ohio? Was there a specific reason for that one?
I just saw the video from, I've got to go back and research it, but I saw it this morning as I was looking through things, and there were like thousands of people there watching it in the early morning, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know that he necessarily has a tie. If he does, somebody can let me know. But I also thought about maybe painting one of my teeth black this morning just in honor of Jack Hughes today.
Well, how about if James knocks one out during the break?
Good luck, James.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one of these.
That was a big high stick, was it not?
Yeah.
It was a huge. It drew a really 4-minute major. 2-2.
By the way, watching a team that you're cheering for try to defend a 5-on-3 in hockey, I mean, oh my gosh. Can Connor Hellebuyck rush the passer? Can he play for the Colts? I mean, unbelievable.
He could do anything, I think, right now, right?
My heart's racing thinking back to the 5-on-3 and defending that.
Man, all I know is that was a lot of fun yesterday. And then last night I was watching the Pacers. And look, the thing I will say about the guys that are playing on the floor, they don't back down, man. I thought for a minute there in the fourth quarter they were going to come back and maybe find a way to get it done. They came up a little bit short and never got too close to it. But, we talk about A.J. DeBonson. We talk about Peterson. We talk about these other guys because if things break right, that's who the Indiana Pacers will be looking at if they can manage to protect their top 4 pick when it all comes to pass in the summer's draft. And in a perfect world, let's say that they get the number 1 overall pick. Who fits best? What do they need most, and who fits best of the guys that we talk about being generational players, perhaps, at the top of this draft?
Well, I would lean towards Darren Peterson talent-wise, but I just don't know if his body will hold up. Like, can he be a guy you can rely on every night in an 82-game season? And I would definitely not vote in favor of that right now. But, yeah, earlier on this season, some of the stuff that I was watching, I was like, man, this guy looks like, he could definitely raise your franchise, but to me, it's between him and AJ DeBanza. But I would also say, for those who are like, who's the best fit? If they get the number 1 pick, you're picking the best player relative to the health factors and stuff like that. But
right.
Just a reminder out there, this is not like the NFL. Like in the NBA, if you get the number 1 pick, you just pick the best dude.
It's such a
and you figure out the rest later. I mean, people telling me, if they get Cameron Boozer, he plays the 4, then that might mess with like how we use Zubats or how we use Pascal if we want to go small. Like, who cares? It's a good problem to have, and trust me, Rick Carlisle and company would gladly figure that out.
I mean, I do really like Caleb Wilson, but DeBanza would probably be the guy, I guess, for me. Just because with Peterson, I guess it's one of two things. How many games has he played? 20? In a 20-game season, he's already had multiple nagging injuries to the point where he can't play. Like that, if you want to blame all of his not playing, B not finishing games due to physical health, then I'm concerned. Or B, if you want to blame it on the other side, that there is a level of a lacking of competitive spirit, as harsh as that might sound, that is beyond bothersome to me as well. So neither of those things would appease me at all. I mean, certainly when you watch him on the floor and you feel like he's fully engaged, it is a world of talent. But, oh boy, Kevin Pritchard's alma mater, he might have some very specific questions for them, which, I don't know, maybe could be beneficial to the Pacers trying to do some background. And Bill Self's body language in his words,
his tone has changed quite a bit,
are starting to sound exhaustive of this whole thing, which that to me tells me more. Bill Self played good cop there early in the season, even around the new year, even through January. Lately, it hasn't sounded like that.
Yeah, I thought it was very telling when he said something along the lines of, well, yeah, the narratives are out there. And he did defend him. He was like, everything out there isn't true as far as the narratives, but he was like, one way to make everybody be quiet is to play and finish. And I was thinking to myself, boy, that's as plain as you can put it.
I mean, tonight, he gets Houston in his own building, big Monday. Houston's got what? Top 10 pick, maybe top 5. Kingston Fleming's could be that 5th overall pick. They are certainly a national title sort of contender, major Big 12 implications on the line. I mean, what a great moment. Then again, he had Arizona in his building in the same sort of situation a couple weeks ago, warmed up and couldn't play because of the flu. And not to compare the exact situations, but listen to Thad Matta describe Michael Ajayi when he joined us on Friday. Butler's playing a rather meaningless game at Georgetown last week. A couple hundred people in that building. And Michael Ajayi is wearing a winter coat at halftime because he's sick and he's so ill and he's trying to play through it.
It's different.
It's just bothersome.
It is bothersome, and we keep an eye on the Pacers and what they do for the rest of the year because they may get that top 4 pick. And real quickly before we move on to, what do you think of Jarris Walker yesterday? Thought a really solid effort last night again.
Yeah, and I'll shout out Kobe Brown. I mean, there has been a little bit more there. Again, I find it difficult to truly evaluate these guys when oftentimes the competition they're playing are equally as G League-y or whatever, back into the NBAs. But still, Kobe Brown, and Jarris, I thought, had a few moments last night. And again, Pascal Siakam, for those that didn't pay attention to the game, he was back and he played in the fourth quarter. So, the whole in-game tanking per se, really the Pacers didn't. Hell, Rick Carlisle challenged to play in the final few minutes.
Yeah, my Twitter timeline was up and roar about that one.
Okay. Is that like the kid that cheats on every test in high school, trying to show the teacher for once, my hands are free?
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
There's no cheat sheet on me.
Yeah, the cheating, I'm like, boy, you guys are bold, man. We had people do that in college, and I was thinking to myself, that is just the stupidest thing in the world because they had people walk around to see if you were cheating. And imagine getting a 0 in a class you paid for, and then you fail it. I mean, my God. Mr. Boyd and Miss Boyd would not have been very happy. I wouldn't be sitting here today, fellas.
Say the only 0 in college is you're fighting Illini playing football against the Hoosiers.
Wow. First shot of the day fired right there.
I mean, I really cannot talk any trash back. I got my teeth kicked in that day. But it's basketball season now. Yep. I'm up, baby.
You look like Jack Hughes walking in here Monday morning.
Pacers Playback, presented by C&J Water, the official treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers. CNJWater.com. All right, more on the Pacers, more on the Olympics and Team USA yesterday. And a little bit later on, we're going to be talking to Joel A. Erickson about the Combine and the Colts at 9 o'clock. Bobby Rydell, broadcaster for Purdue basketball, and to talk about the Boilermakers' big win on Friday night over Indiana. We'll do it all as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Matthews beat McKinnon to the punt. Boldy looking to push through. Back Boldy to the net. He scores! For Canada. There's Mitch Marner. Marner drops the net. Oh, Taves had a wide open goal. Put it through the crease.
Marner looks for Taves on the backside. That puck's going in. He got the paddle, Boosh.
Wow. And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes pokes it around the car. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
This is all about our country right now. I love the USA. I love my teammates. It's unbelievable. The USA Hockey Brotherhood is so strong, and we have so much support from ex-players. I'm so proud to be American today.
Won't you fly free?
Once again, great job out of Mark Dykton. Of course, Freebird, the official theme song of Team USA when they were scoring goals and winning games. How about the fact the men and the women a perfect 12-0 combined? They win their groups 3-0, then they win quarters, semis, and gold medal games. Man, that was just a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, though, I was pretty nervous going into the 3-on-3 overtime, Kevin Bowen, because in my opinion, obviously the best player in the world was Connor Hellebuck, the goalie yesterday for Team USA. But in my humble opinion, the three best players in the world happen to be named Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Cale Makar. And somehow, some way, the Hughes brothers and the Chuck brothers and Connor Hellebuck were just a little bit better yesterday.
And McKinnon can kiss our ass, right? He's the one that said that they were the better team.
They put more pressure on in the second, third period, but they couldn't score goals. So, no, you didn't win. Sorry, Nathan. And Nathan McKinnon's my guy, but not today.
Will you continue to go to the week for Canada when we do those later today?
I will not. I was just trying to get everybody prepped up and ready to go for the hockey, and I was amazed that a 19-year-old was put on the best line in the world that was stumped by Connor Hellebuck. Loved it.
Yeah, so basically Jeff committed treason, and then he came back to the right country.
Hey, as long as he got us a gold, Jeff, power to you. They should give you a gold.
Well, no, here's what one of my buddies responded to that quote from Nathan McKinnon, where my buddy Mike DeFavo, he covers the Steelers for us at The Athletic. He said there actually are a lot of Olympic events where you can skate on the ice and have a judge determine the outcome if that's your thing. I was like, boy. I was like,
I like that a lot.
Baby.
I like that. Those are some bars right there.
One thing that was interesting, though, my wife had pointed this out. We're watching the medal ceremony and everything, and they do the silver medal before the gold medals. The guys from Canada, they didn't look very happy, and none of them were looking at their medals, and they were put around their necks
No,
either.
I hope several of them have young children, and those stuffed animals can go to them.
Yeah.
But you know what? Someone tweeted this, and I'm sorry I don't have the name right on hand, but someone actually sent this text in, to our station last week, and I was talking about, hey, I don't really watch, too much of the Winter Olympics, but, the gravity of winning or losing is so crazy, and one of the texters was like, well, put it like this, James, you win bronze, you win gold, and you lose and get silver.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy,
and
right?
I was like, yeah, if you lose the game before getting to the championship and you win your last game and you come away with bronze, everyone's happy. Everyone's on the ice going crazy. But if you lose, it's like, I had never heard that perspective before. Like, you win gold, you win bronze, you lose silver.
I thought it was cool, too, and you guys, again, correct me if I'm wrong here. Both Jack Hughes and Connor Hellebuck play their NHL in Canada. Can you imagine what that will be like for them? You know, to go back to those respective teams, those media markets, those fan bases. You know, you talk about.
God knew who to give certain talent to because I would go back flexing.
Yeah. How about Austin Matthews, who's a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who've been getting their hearts broken in the Stanley Cup for years and years and years. He's on Team USA, and he helps beat Canada again.
That is an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, that's unique. That's very unique.
Oh, my gosh. And Gary says finishing the high-stakes game like that with 3-on-3 contest is about the lamest thing I've ever seen in my life. They do it in the National Hockey League. It's the way it's done in hockey all the way around, and they don't want guys. What they don't want, and it's great TV for us, like I've covered Stanley Cup games in the past that go to double or even triple overtime, and it's fascinating, and it goes on forever, and it lasts 6 hours, and the fans kind of love it. But they don't want athletes out there for 6 hours at a time sometimes, and I thought the 3-on-3 is exciting. Like,
Should
it
you
can
make a
happen in
rule?
moment.
Game 7s, gold medal matches, 5-on-5.
Well, in the Stanley Cup, it is. You go
Stanley Cup. You go 5-on-5. You don't go 3-on-3.
No.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
I thought you were going to tell me like Game 7 of the NBA Finals 3-on-3.
No.
Pascal.
Again, I know nothing about hockey. If it is truly as big of a gimmick as people say it is, which again I know nothing. I found it wildly entertaining. But if it's really that big of a gimmick, then should the fact that it's the gold medal, should that be 5-on-5? Just like
Stanley Cup Finals, yeah.
So Stanley Cup Finals, they do normal overtime, 5-on-5.
It's the same thing. You get the same intermission time, 20-minute periods, and you go until somebody scores a goal.
That 3-on-3. I mean, again, you heard it right there. I mean, if Jack Hughes doesn't get that poke of the puck there, Canada's on the doorstep right there, and Hellebuck has got to stand on his head again. Was that Jonathan Toews, that former Blackhawk, Mark, who he stoned there with the stick?
No.
That's
no
not
relation.
That's a Colorado Avalanche,
No
I believe.
relation.
Yeah.
I thought Toews used to play for the Blackhawks.
Yeah, Jonathan Toews. That's not Jonathan Toews.
Oh.
Isn't he like kind of old now?
It's a different Toews.
Yeah.
Like Jonathan Toews.
Gosh, there's so many siblings and people with last names that are
actually
the
gets
same.
kind of crazy. If they're
Well,
not
I
related.
think,
So we had two brother combos on our team,
Yeah.
Hugheses and the Kachucks.
And you also saw relatives from the past Olympic hockey teams going on, too. Dave Christian, who was on the 1980 team. It was the kid, I'm trying to think who his relative
They said
is.
Brock Nelson.
That's who it is, Brock Nelson, who is another Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
So.
And boy, that first goal that we scored, and I thought Eddie Olczyk's emotion post-game really stood out to me. And I really enjoyed Mike Tirico's send-off. I thought he summarized it beautifully well. I think I told you guys a few weeks ago, I watched the Miracle documentary on, I forget what it was on, Amazon Prime, Netflix, something like that, recently. And I was struck by Al Michaels' Open in 1980. That, and I'm paraphrasing here, and I won't do it accurately enough, but he said something to the effect of, welcome to the United States and the Soviets. For a lot of people watching today, you don't know the difference between a clothesline and a blues line, but this game means a lot more than just that. And
what a bar!
I just thought that was such a beautiful description. And again, the political ramifications. A, no one wants to get into. B, I don't want to act like here in 2026 with Canada, it's anywhere near what it was in 1980, the Soviets. But I thought Tirico really summarized just what sports, frankly, I think can mean and the unifying aspect of it. And certainly, again, from a person like me who's not definitely a hockey guy, to feel my heart beating in the manner it was yesterday morning, man, sports are a different animal.
I had it pulled up in church with grandma, and the best part about that is, got the gold medal, you get to react, and you can just say it's the Holy Spirit.
I took my aunt to church at 5:30 yesterday in the afternoon.
I thought you were say 5:30 in the morning.
I was about to say, hold on now. What kind of church she going
You guys
to?
opening the door and
No.
lighting the candles?
See, I'm getting
5:30
into
in the
heaven
afternoon.
early. I
In
might
the
be there a little
afternoon.
later than you.
We're like, Auntie Young, 5:30 today. Is that okay? She's like, yeah, that's great.
Nice, because I was about to say, boy, if there's like levels to heaven, I would be getting in on maybe the second, third floor or something like that. I ain't know about 5:30 in the morning. My grandma would go if she could.
Mark, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, too, at the very beginning of the hockey broadcast. They had Kurt Russell voice over the intro, getting ready for the broadcast. I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Ashley's Silver Fox crush still at Kurt Russell. I'm like, good Lord.
Man, that-
Grandpa Kurt at this point.
Mark's turning the channel.
I am. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like,
I did see
I asked her if she wanted to see Miracle one time. She's like, I'm not really interested. I'm like, Kurt Russell's in it. She's like, okay, let's watch it.
I watched the Miracle Locker Room speech on Saturday. YouTube it. I did. I went there. And when
I thought about playing it
Urizioni
Friday.
and Jim Craig walk out of the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, boy, you want to talk about some chills there.
I still need to watch The Boys of 80. I heard it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing earlier. That was that documentary. Yes. I would
Which
highly
streaming
encourage it.
platform, Mark, was that one on? Do you remember?
Netflix.
Netflix, yeah. I haven't seen that, but man, the movie Miracle does it for me just as much. And I remember everything about 1980, where I was. It's one of those moments in sports. You remember where you are and who was with you and what was going on. And it was in the middle of the day back in 1980. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun.
I did want to make sure we shared this, and there's absolutely no transition whatsoever to just the horrifying, tragic death of Rondale Moore over the weekend. I know we touched on it a little bit in the 7 o'clock hour. I think everybody, remembers him as a player, but certainly the Ohio State game is one that I remember exactly where I was watching that game really the game probably known best as the Tyler Trent game. And, Chris Fowler on the call, and I remember the Rondale Moore touchdown that kind of iced it. For as electrifying as he was as a shifty player, I remember just how big he played. So much bigger than...
He ran through a dude on that touchdown.
Yeah, for 5'9", 190 or whatever.
Powerful.
He's listed at. But I did see Tyler Trent, their foundation has a Twitter account, and they tweeted a couple things yesterday. And I'll quote them right here. They say, words feel inadequate to express how deeply saddened we are with the passing of Rondale Moore. Our hearts and prayers go out to his family and friends. While we don't know all the surrounding details, if you are hurting, please reach out. You are not alone. You matter. They later added this. We vividly remember certain plays he made that helped Tyler's prediction become a reality, with Purdue beating Ohio State in 2018. He and Tyler had formed a sweet friendship that season, with Tyler sending him game day texts of encouragement. Rondale will always be part of our story. Again, that is courtesy of the Tyler Trent Foundation there, and sharing that yesterday.
Yeah,
on social.
Like I said, it's one of those things. I had to read the article twice and make sure that's who it was about and what I was thinking, what was going on, and then your heart just sinks. And wow, 25 years old. James.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is. And the thing I'll say is, like, one, whenever these types of things happen and someone, and it's apparent, they said that he was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So perhaps he took his own life, and you get the reactions of like, oh man, he made this money, he was famous, he was this, he was that. But I think it just goes to show, like, mental health is a thing you probably need to, establish a two-way street on. If you have a breadwinner in your family and the person that's always supposed to be the strong person, reach out to him. And I don't know if that could have changed anything, but one, I don't want to make it seem like it is his fault for what happened, because just speaking candidly, people in my own personal life that have kind of gone through some of these things or had these thoughts, it's like you don't see a way out. So it's not, I'm not going to fault you for being in pain. You just want the pain in. It's not like I want to leave everybody. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. And then number two, I think, unfortunately, one of the silver linings you can draw from this is like, okay, if a guy this accomplished was struggling with something like this, then perhaps somebody else listening, even here today on these airways, if you're struggling, you can ask for help. You can get help, and it does get better. It can get better. So don't want to get on the soapbox too much and act like I got all the answers. I don't. But I would imagine that, again, there are other options out there. And again, that's not faulting him at all. That's not blaming him at all. Life can be very hard, and you just feel for his family, pray for his family. And 25. And what was kind of shocking to me, to kind of take it back to the football part, was the dude was so good at his size that he had 5 years of NFL experience at 25. I mean, how many guys do we know, even now, Kevin, I'm sure you're probably used to this. You have parents that hold their kids back so they can get bigger and stronger and then go to the next level. Like, the dude was special. I mean, very good at football.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing, he won a basketball state championship with Romeo Langford. He was at New Albany before transferring to Trinity. For those unfamiliar with kind of the Louisville high school scene, Trinity is a major football program there. But he was, I think, a starter, if I'm not mistaken, on that New Albany team that won a state title. And I would just add one more thing on it. I would say one thing that I do a really, really poor job in the underestimation department is when, and I'll just use athletes for the example of it, because, that's what we're covering. The grind of having to constantly rehab. And I say that more from a physical rehab standpoint. For those that haven't followed the Rondale Moore NFL story closely, we're talking 2 ACLs. He hasn't played in the league since 2023.
Yeah.
And I think the grind of the physical rehab and everything that goes with it, and I'm not just talking about the physical challenges of trying to get back, but the mental challenges. And think about a player like Rondale Moore. He's always been the star. He's always been the great, great athlete. And having that stripped from you for, a long period of time, I can only imagine, what that would be like for you. And just the challenges that frankly go with all of that. I've dominated at every level of my life, and now all of a sudden I can't even play the game of football.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, again, I don't do a good enough job of. I think back a little bit, and I hope it's not, unfair of me to compare the two, but a little bit more in our own, bubble of, and Rick Carlisle shared some of this about Tyrese Halliburton, I guess it would have been early last year. And Tyrese has talked about this a little bit more openly about how he was in such a battle early last season. He thought about not even playing a game against the New York Knicks because he was at, in his quote, kind of like a rock bottom mental state of where he's, and this dude that just won a gold medal. This is a dude that's just been, an all-star.
Finals and all that.
Right. At
the beginning of his career ascension.
Yeah. Right. And for him to, be going through that, and that's not multiple ACLs. That's not, to the level, obviously of what Rondale Moore was dealing with.
I think you make a good point though, because it's a part of the business. So when a guy, for example, Justin Wally tore his ACL last year, it's like, okay, we'll see you in
9 months, right?
Yeah. But there is another layer to that, another conversation inside to that. So, and then also I think that the age we're in, you probably deal with more ridicule, at least in your face, than like in the past. I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, you had to pick up the newspaper and read everything and then probably, maybe draw some motivation or feel some angst from that. But now it's at your phone and people can just tell you, however they feel or judge your career. And that's one thing I do hate, and I've done it because it is probably factually true. Like, this player is injury prone, but I understand why that label bothers them so much because you're playing, especially football, a very violent game and you don't ask to be injured. And I was actually having this debate with one of my family members over the weekend with how we talk about a guy like Kawhi Leonard. Like everyone says, oh man, he never wants to play. It's low management. Kawhi has had like multiple knee surgeries and could retire tomorrow and be a Hall of Famer and is still trying to work his way back because he loves the game that much. Now, he's one of like the more, I guess, positive examples of it working out in the end. But man, there's a million other stories of you get the injury and you're just not the same. And I don't know, again, the overall scope of what was going on with Rondale Moore. But again, just prayers to his family and everyone kind of fighting those types of battles. And again, you can get help. I know there's a 988 hotline. You can call that and talk to a mental health professional and, try to stick this thing out.
And not everyone, but I've seen so many stories and seen so many reports on TV and read articles of people who survived suicide attempts and years later, like, man, I am so glad that I made it through that day. It was hard to imagine what I was going through and how dark it was, but I'm really, really pleased that I didn't end that day.
Yeah, and I know we keep saying last thing, but one other thing about this I think is just unique to football. It's just such a quote-unquote man's game. Like, you don't really show any weakness, right? You're not supposed to, cry, or you're not supposed to get upset or show any type of, downward trend. But the reality is the game, and I've talked about this, actually had a conversation with Shaquille Leonard about this when things were not going as great as they were towards the end of his career with the Colts. And candidly, I remember asking him, hey, do you ever think about, and players talk about it all the time, well, like, they talk about what the game gives them. And it's like, I've given me a new opportunity to, live a different lifestyle, provide for my family, you get the glory, you get the accolades. But do you ever think about what the game might take away from you? And does that become like a realer thing in your face when you're injured? And he talked about like just that balancing act of like, yeah, you do kind of think about that. Like, man, I did all these things and I don't regret any of it because it got to me where I am. But now I can't finish my career on my own terms because I don't have the ability to. And a lot of it has to do with the physical toll of the game. So I think football is uniquely different than other sports because weakness is just looked at as something that you just cannot have. But shout out to the Colts and other people, kicking the stigma and other initiatives are trying to change that narrative.
All right. Having said all of that, let's check it down, Mark.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Didn't matter most that it started at 8 o'clock in the morning our time yesterday, but Team USA comes up with a 2-1 overtime victory against Team Canada to get their first gold medal at the Olympic Games for the men's hockey team since 1980, and the biggest reason why, Connor Hellebuck.
That puck is going in. He got the paddle boost
For Canada. There's Vince Marner. Marner drops the net. Oh, Taves had a wide open goal. Put it through the crease.
Marner looks for Taves on the backside. That puck is going in. He got the paddle boost.
Wow.
Wow is right. Not only that play, but twice he stopped breakaway goal attempts. One by the best player of the world, Connor McDavid. Another one by that youngster I was talking about last week, Celebrini. And he was on one of those days where things weren't getting in. You were almost surprised when Canada did score their first and only goal of the game, Kevin. It was amazing to watch, and Team USA wins that one 2-1 in overtime. It was a couple of days after Team USA's women won 2-1 against Canada in overtime. In fact, the United States wins its most medals in Winter Olympics history as a nation with 33 for themselves, 12 gold, finished second overall to Norway, who had 41 with 18 gold medals. And I don't know, who's the star of these Olympics? We always like to see a star of the Olympics, but you got Alyssa Liu, who was fantastic. You got Team USA's women, Connor Hellebuck. You've got Hillary Knight. And just who do you pick for Team USA?
I'm probably rolling with Miss Liu. Alyssa, like the swagger of her routine, just the I don't care what happens factor, and then going out there and just being a baller and then, cursing on live television. That's what the bleep I'm talking about. Yeah, it is what I'm talking about. I just love her energy. I mean, to have that perspective on life and sport at 20 is amazing. And I went down a rabbit hole over the weekend, but yeah, she retired pretty young. Told her dad, if I come back, I don't even want you like on my staff working with me. I want to do it my way. And her way got her a gold medal. Take that, Pops.
Although she does give her dad quite a bit of credit.
Yeah, I said that. To be clear, I said that tongue in cheek. Like, they have a great relationship, but she made it very clear, like, hey, I want this to kind of be my dream, my thing. And honestly, I think a lot of parents can learn from that. I mean, I go to a lot of high school games, and how many parents are yelling at their kids to play it this way or do this, try to live through their kids. Like, yeah, she's a good example of how we should approach sports. And I mean, oh boy, I need to dye my hair like that.
All
right. Like a rocket? A little raccoon.
You can
look.
do that. Nobody's stopping you.
Hey, whoever knows a wig
Nobody's
store,
stopping
hit
you.
us up, 107.5.
Oh, it's a wig store now. Are you going to dye it?
Well, I mean, I can't. I don't have flow like her. I can't grow it
Well,
overnight.
you can still do the thing, though.
A little different hair texture.
All right. Any other final thoughts on the Olympics, Kevin? I know that curling, you were invested into that. There was a silver medal along the way. You were very emotional about all of it.
Yeah, obviously the hockey would be the dominant storyline. As James said, Iliu's story. I'd say historically, or just big picture, Michaela Schifrin winning another medal and a gold is pretty damn remarkable. Honestly, I will remember the Quad Gods performance and just the failing, I guess, in that moment. I think that's part of what the Olympics are, frankly. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have so much great stuff and you want to celebrate that, but the reverse of it is every 4 years, look at Team Canada responding to the silver medal. That is the aspect of it.
Dreams can be crushed.
That is why we love sports. And again, there is a tragedy element to it.
Yeah.
But, watching him, again, not even attempt his routine, like so nervous to the point where I'm supposed to do whatever, this quad, whatever, and I can only do a single or a double. It's just a reminder of what pressure, in particular the individual athletes in Olympic cycles, feel.
I thought there was a lot of off the games storylines too that I'll remember, like the guy admitting he cheated on his girlfriend after he raced. The shortage of prophylactics in the Olympic Village.
That's every Olympics, though.
The injections supposedly that some of the ski jumpers were taking to increase their length and stuff.
Seems to be a theme around all of Mark's memories.
There was a lot of awful stuff off
hey.
the game situation. I was like, I don't recall all this happening.
Are you on the private tab on that browser?
Do you shoo the family away and say, Michaela Schifrin skiing, go away?
I'm just trying to learn things.
KB, we
Just
got
trying
to make sure
educate.
if we step foot in that little studio he's got, we disinfect some things.
I'm gonna walk in there with a hazmat suit on.
All right, that's the Olympics for 2026 right there. Thank you, Mark Dykin,
We're all
for
being
wrapping it up
trying to
there.
be serious, and Mark is like, well, yeah, that guy who cheated on his girlfriend.
I mean,
that's a moment I will never forget. And
That was
honestly,
clown
you are
behavior,
right.
though. I
Kevin
don't know
is
what he was trying to do.
Kevin is still upset over the Canadian touching of the stone.
The
too.
fingering of the rock.
Mark
Yeah,
Kennedy,
that guy.
a Class A
I left
cheater.
that for you.
You look it up in the Webster's dictionary, and you see a picture of Mark Kennedy's finger.
That is funny.
And then he was talking. He was hollering at the guy that called him out, and it's like, no, you were cheating.
Right. No, Mark, that is hilarious, though, that you brought up the fact that, like, I just want again in life, and by the way, I cheated on you, you loser. I'm sorry, but I am a winner. Like, what
And
the
then
heck are you
they
doing?
asked the girlfriend, she's like, yeah, I'm aware of it. I've been made aware of the situation. I haven't changed my feelings about it. I'm like, yeah.
I don't think that helped his cause.
I would have told her, well,
Not at
that's
all.
all right. My Olympic medal going to keep me warm at night then.
Oh, man. All right. NBA last night over the Fieldhouse. The Pacers lose to the Mavericks 134-130. Chris Middleton had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Snapped a 10-game Maverick losing streak. Pascal Siakam did score 30. Andrew Nembhard, 22. Amazing. Those two just show up every single night, Kevin. Every night those guys show up.
Well, until the Pacers want to sit Andrew Nembhard for the fourth quarter the other night. But yes, if it's out of their control, then yes, they will. Or if it's in their control, I should say, they will be out there. But yeah, good to see Siakam back. And most importantly for the Pacers right now, good to see them lose.
Second worst record in the league currently. And James, the daily Tankathon simulator.
Hit me.
Second.
Let's go.
Sacramento 1, Indiana 2, Brooklyn 3, and Atlanta through New Orleans 4th.
You got to tell them, hey, if things are trending this direction now, AJ DeBanza, make sure you tank your draft interview to get to number 2 because, boy, I don't know what's going on with Darren Peterson.
Also, Tyrese Halliburton with some tough news that was revealed by Rick Carlisle yesterday, Kevin Bowen.
Yeah, I guess according to Rick, he's got shingles, Tyrese, which is just a wild headline. Again, out multiple weeks. Mark Dykton, I know you can speak to that, unfortunately. But anybody that I've talked to that's had shingles, it is an awful experience.
Yeah, when I saw the doctor's like, yeah, you have shingles. I was like, I thought that's like an old person disease, like 50 and older. And like, no, like she's like, I've had patients that were in their mid-20s that have had it. So she's like, it's not just it's got the description that it's supposed to be an old person disease, but yeah, guys in their 20s, 30s, and beyond can get it. So get the vaccine. I got my first dose back in November. I got another one coming up in like a month.
Did you
and a
get
half.
sick at all for a day or so afterwards?
No, just a sore arm. But they said the second dose can kind of knock you on your ass a little bit. So we'll see how that goes.
Tuesday, the Pacers will welcome Philly into town. Thursday, it's the Hornets, and that's your week ahead in the NBA. Congratulations, Center Grove, winning state at wrestling over the weekend. Anything else you wanted to throw in before we move along and get to Joel A. Erickson in a minute?
Well, we got to mention Purdue and Indiana. I mean, that was an absolute ass-kicking up there in West Lafayette on Friday night. The biggest loss for Indiana in the series since 1969. And the seniors for Purdue, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman-Wren, they were asked quite a lot in the leading up to the game. About their record against Indiana. That was pretty emphatic in the final, I guess, regular season matchup between those two programs. So very impressive. And Omar Meyer as well in the second half. That was a huge, huge flurry that I thought Gus Johnson was going to literally jump through my TV screen at that. So big time by Purdue. They got Michigan State on Thursday. Indiana will have Northwestern coming up tomorrow night in a must-win game.
And yeah, the Butler win over Xavier 80-75 on Saturday as well. Joel A. Erickson of the Indy Star coming up next. Combine week is here. What does it mean for the Colts? We'll find out on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Well, good news and bad news, Kevin Bowen. Bad news is we've lost James Boyd for the rest of the show. He and his athletic team are all having big annual meetings downtown now that the Combine is here, and they got writers from all over the place in one place at one time. So he's off to do those things, but
He just wants to find out how many meals he can get comped this week. That's all he's worried
that's
about.
part of being in the media, though, isn't it?
What do you mean? I needed to get this $12 burrito.
But the good news is, guess who's joining us right now?
Burrito sounds so good right now.
Mark, who's joining us right now?
Joel A. Erickson.
On the Payless Liquors hotline. Welcome to the show, Joel. Our brother is headed off for meetings today, so thank you for filling in for him for a few minutes. We appreciate you stepping up to the plate, my man.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. He's got big stuff to do. He always does this week of the year.
Well, we're happy to have you here. I'll ask you the same thing I asked the guys a little earlier. What does this particular week mean in 2026 to this Colts team?
I think the biggest thing it means is what's going to happen with Alec Pierce. I think that's the biggest thing is that you obviously it's the draft. You know, they're looking at prospects, all that stuff. But really, I think for this team, the thing that sticks out is what goes on behind the scenes when, you know, Chris Ballard and the rest of the Colts are meeting with agents. And I think obviously the biggest one is Alec Pierce's agent on what his market is shaping up to look like and what the Colts are going to have to pay to keep him.
Joel, you've instilled hockey toughness into your boys. Was the Erickson household locked in yesterday?
Locked in. So we recorded it so that we could still make church, and then I avoided my phone like the plague the entire time and watched it on delay. And yeah, absolutely great. Hellebuck in goal was crazy for the Americans.
Gosh, that is the fact that you could resist the urge to be on your phone, Joel, that is toughness like no other right there. Okay, let's shift gears back to the Combine. Let's go Mooney Ward. You know, getting clarification on if he will play in 2026 seems to be a storyline. Is it too much of a storyline, though? And not to, like, undermine him, because I do think when he was on the field this season, he proved he could be a very nice player, but he did pretty much say at the end of the season, if and when he has another concussion, that will definitely be it for him. So I guess I asked that to say, how should Mooney Ward's decision to play in 2026 impact the cornerback need?
It probably shouldn't. I think that's a pretty fair way to lay it out there. It probably shouldn't, because you have to take into account the injury risk with him, and it's unfortunate. When they signed him last year and you know, paid up, increased the offer to go get him, it made a ton of sense, but it's really something you can't really foresee a guy suddenly having 3 concussions in one season and having concussion issues, and you just can't, after a guy's had multiple concussions in one season, expect it to go the same as you would with if he was just no concussion history, that kind of thing. So you're right. You've got to approach cornerback the same way. You've got Justin Wally coming back off the ACL tear, and ACLs are no longer quite the same as the Achilles, where you expect a player to be very, very different. They almost have a rookie in-house, which makes me think that if it's me, maybe I'm looking at that experienced market for you know, some corner insurance, because you already have the corner in-house and you have other draft needs.
Talking to Joel A. Erickson of the Indy Star about the Combine coming up this week and the Colts and what they're up to. What do you expect to hear from Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen that we haven't already heard when they meet the media this week?
Chris Ballard usually has a couple of nuggets on personnel matters in you know, that we don't know, and that's usually what I'm listening for. In terms of the big picture, like the philosophy stuff like that, I don't know that we're going to hear a ton of change, especially since it sounds like, and it sounded like this for really months going back to before the season, which is why some of the breathless reports that came out during the Super Bowl kind of made me chuckle a little bit. But it sounded for a long time like the team is, you know, all in on Daniel Jones coming back and re-signing him. That would have been the big news. But I think Ballard usually has some hints about where they're headed personnel-wise that I think are interesting and are matter to individual players. In terms of the big picture stuff, like I said, they kind of set that in my mind in January, and then with Shane Steichen, a lot of his stuff is really more geared towards the season, and so you're kind of just trying to get his take on where the team is.
Joel Erickson from the Star with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Joel, what would have to happen in free agency for the first pick in the draft, 47 overall for the Colts, to be on offense?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think you have to lose Pierce, sign 2 defensive ends, and probably lose Pierce, sign 2 defensive ends, and then you feel like that's the spot to go wide receiver. I think linebacker you can probably still. This is where I get a little bit. This is where it gets a little bit difficult for me because I'm not a draft analyst, so I'm kind of just going off of what the guys around us are saying. But it's supposed to be, unlike last year, it's supposed to be a deeper linebacker class. So you can probably wait till the 3rd round to get that. Even then, even if you have 2 defensive ends in free agency, you might want to go defensive tackle there too. So I think that's the formula, though, is you lose Pierce somewhere else, and you end up with a couple of defensive line signings.
If you could pick one American hockey player for your sons to play, it would be who?
I kind of like the Kachucks. I like they mix it up. They set the tone.
Now, are you saying you're like Keith? Are you the dad? Are you similar in that way, instilling that in them?
The thing is, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything about hockey. Every time my son who plays hockey asks about something, I have to tell him, hey, just so you know, your dad doesn't. I never played this. I don't know anything about it. But it's just kind of you can see the effect of it now that I'm watching hockey a little bit more. That style and that mixing it up. Even my son's favorite player, who's Austin Matthews. Throughout the Olympics, they were saying the thing he was doing better was kind of getting in the mix and taking some shots and mixing it up physically. And so I do kind of like the guys who mix it up a little bit.
They're like Dean Portman and Fulton Reed, right? Back in our Mighty Ducks days, the Bash Brothers.
The Kachucks are a little bit more skilled than that.
Okay.
The Kachucks are more like,
if Kenny Wu and the Bash Brothers had a kid, those would be the Kachucks.
Yeah,
Except they're pretty good.
Yeah. Who play a physical brand. Yeah.
Joel, you might appreciate this. I said it in the first hour, but it's so good it bears repeating. So, someone who knows hockey that I know said on Twitter that the Kachuk brothers are the neighborhood boys that hop your fence and swim in your pool when you're on vacation, and the Quinn brothers are the brothers that show up.
Hughes brothers.
I'm sorry. The Hughes brothers show up and cut your grass without you asking.
I like that. But it does feel like that everything has been kind of leading up to this with the U.S. team, just kind of stemming from, 4 nations face off and the fight and everything like that. It kind of set the tone to get where they are, and then you get the goalie standing on his head yesterday.
It was good. Hey, back to football real quick. I asked this for a lot of folks. With so many Hoosiers coming up in the draft and so many at the Combine this coming week, is there a Hoosier that would make sense for the Colts in later rounds?
I mean, the wide receivers, if there's a move where you decide to let Michael Pittman go, I think the wide receivers are guys that are interesting. D'Angelo Pons as a playmaking nickel is sort of a player that I'm really interested in the NFL. The only caveat there is that Lou Anarumo typically doesn't seem to love rookies in his defense that much. So those are the guys that came to mind first. I mean, you'd love Fernando Mendoza, but he'll be very, 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 very long gone, especially after talking to Daniel Jeremiah last week and finding out that he doesn't think there's going to be another quarterback taken until maybe the 2nd round. That's as valuable as it gets for Mendoza.
Wow. Hey, last quick thing too, before we head out of here. Any chance that the Colts can find a way to make a move for an edge rusher that's already out there, like a Trey Hendrickson or somebody like that?
I mean, Trey Hendrickson is a definite possibility. I think that there's, in going back to kind of that pre-2022 when Chris Ballard, by his own admission, kind of got in a even more of a run it back sort of mode than he normally was. There were some free agent guys there for a while where they kind of always had somebody in there. It was Jamal Sheard, then it was Danico Autry, then it was Justin Houston. Even Yannick Ngakoue, I don't think he was quite as impactful, but did have good sack numbers. He did a good job of finding those kind of guys. I think they need to find something like that. And Trey Hendrickson maybe falls into that category more than people realize. I know he's got the big name, but if you look at what happened with him last year with his hips and being injured and struggling from that standpoint, I don't know that his value is as skyrocketing as maybe it would have been a couple years ago.
Always good to talk to you, Joel. Look forward to seeing you in person this week. Have fun, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys down there.
Hey, Joel.
Joel A. Erickson, like you said, this is one of your favorite weeks of the year, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, I do. I know there are a lot of people that, in our industry that don't love the Combine. I think it's awesome that our city hosts an event. And let's be honest, how big of a lull has the last month been for the Colts? It just seems like there's been nothing. So, now we get to start something of how new look will the defense be in 2026? And really, it speeds up. I mean, we got Combine this week. Free agency's 2 weeks from Wednesday? 3 weeks from Wednesday? Something like that. And then, obviously, once you get to April, you get players back in the building, and you got the draft coming up here. So, yes, I look at the Combine as I swear spring is around the corner, and that makes me happy.
I just wonder what are the foundations of deals that get made at all those dinners at the steakhouses downtown over the next week? I mean,
that's a huge part
honestly,
of it. I mean,
huge.
Yeah, I mean, the DeForest Buckner trade got, drawn up here and executed. So, yeah, that is a massive part of what this week is all about. NFL headquarters, it's very rare to have NFL headquarters, GM, head coach, agents, all of it in one city. You don't get that at the Super Bowl. You don't get that at the Pro Bowl. You don't necessarily get that fully at the Senior Bowl. This is really the one event all year where you get all of it in one stop. And it's Indy, and it looks to be decent weather. I think it's supposed to warm up a little bit, so good. Don't want to hear any bitching and moaning from people.
I got some questions for you about the Combine coming up in just a moment here as we continue. It's the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd is out for the rest of the day. He is meeting up with all of his folks over there at The Athletic as they kind of do their annual big team meeting during the Combine because so many of the writers are in town this week. But we've got you the rest of the way, and we'll talk about it next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Indoor and outdoor concrete. I'm not going to lie. We got outside last week. I know seen some flurries in the air. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, we were outside. We were enjoying the backyard. And in that backyard, we got a sidewalk that extends back there. New front porch and new sidewalk courtesy of Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Indoor and outdoor concrete. Garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. Honestly, a garage is something that we really could use as well from Galaxy Concrete Coatings. But what I love about them is, go to their website, the styles. I think you'll find something that matches your home or your workplace. Again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete at Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And garages, basements, patios, porches, sidewalks. They've got it all. Manufacturers upgrade the warranty from 15 years to lifetime. And I thought the process was very easy. In and out in about 24 hours. Not too much stress whatsoever on us, just logistically getting out of our home. So again, it's indoor and outdoor concrete. It's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. Head to that website, galaxyconcretecoatings.com today.
But if you feel like I feel, I got the antidote. Women wave your pantyhose, sing the chorus and it goes. I'm Slim Shady, yes I'm the real Shady. All you other Slim Shadys are just imitating. So won't the real Slim Shady please?
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show. It is a Monday and quite the weekend. Certainly the Olympics wrapping up. We had the Pacers last night. Big win for Purdue over Indiana on Friday night. Mark, I'm just curious, your biggest takeaway from the weekend, and what were your young girls interested in as far as Olympics were concerned?
Well, they were locked in. Like, I feel like this is going to be kind of a change in the Dykton household going forward because every single night they're like, are the Olympics on? can we watch the Olympics? I'm like, sure. So like Saturday night, we were watching bobsledding, and I think we were watching some biathlon, and they were locked in on all of it. They were trying to learn everything about it and everything. How do 4 men fit in that bobsled? How's that guy not falling out of the back? What's that other guy doing? I'm like, well, he's driving that thing and stuff. So explaining all that to them, they're all in on the figure skating. They said everyone's outfits were pretty. They want to do that too and all that stuff. So they were locked in. Same with the hockey yesterday morning, having some breakfast, watching it. So like rooting for USA, right? I'm like, you damn right we are. Otherwise, you're leaving the household and everything. So they were locked in. So yeah, tonight when they're like, is the Olympics on? I'm like, no, sorry. Got to wait at least 2 years for the summers to get underway.
Rosie gave us a spur of the moment, couple USA chants yesterday.
Look at that.
During the
Really?
game. Yeah. Shout out to their school. They did like a little Friday Olympics, I think. She said tobogganing was one of the sports that they did. I was unfamiliar with how they were able to execute that per se, but I didn't ask questions. I was just proud to hear of her patriotic nature. And yeah, we were locked in yesterday during the match.
Maybe we have to get her like her own little hockey sweater. What do you think?
Ooh.
That'd be kind of fun. I'll ask you the same thing I asked Jolie Erickson a moment ago. What are you most looking forward to this week at the Combine? What's most interesting to you?
Well, I think Joel brings up a good point. You know, again, on the Daniel Jones, Alec Pierce front, as much as I have thought the best mode of operation is you franchise tag Alec Pierce if you're nervous about competing on the open market with him, and then you give Jones a 2-year deal. If you go 3 years, I only want to see the guarantees in the first 2 years. Like, is that just a slam dunk? You know, again, I've spoken to, I think that is the pathway that should be explored, but you know, the old phrase of deadline spur action, that ultimately decides a lot of it. And do we see any surprises, I guess, in that realm? And our first answer could be the words of Chris Ballard here in the next 48 hours. Again, 4:30 tomorrow for Shane Steichen. I think he's the first one to go. Chris Ballard at 5:30 tomorrow. But a week from Tuesday, that's when the franchise tag window is complete. So you have to do something by then. Either you use it and we'll know the fate of Pierce or Jones, or you don't use it, and then, boy, that would be quite something here. Because, again, I looked it up in the break just to double-check everything here. 2 weeks from today is when the legal tampering window opens, which is pretty much the start of free agency. Officially, it's 2 weeks from Wednesday, but 2 weeks from today is when the fireworks begin.
You know, it's interesting when we talk about the Combine, and we always have a chance to speak with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard. It's always felt to me, Kevin, like if you listen very carefully to Chris Ballard, he'll tell you things without actually telling you. When you go back a month later and look at some of the comments he made, he'll kind of tell you, if you pay close attention, what they're going to do or what they're thinking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always said this about Ballard, and I know, 98% of our audience probably doesn't really care, but, he is one of the more candid GMs. Obviously, they would say, I wish he wouldn't say anything as long as he won. So, yeah. And, last year we had Ballard on, and you feel like you ask him all the, why do you feel like you're getting the 9th year? And, what's your biggest accomplishment? You ask him all that stuff, and they're met with answers that just lack any sort of whatever, feel good nature, or, oh man, that really makes me happy that he's returning for a 10th year as a GM. But that's the reality. When you have the resume that he has so far, that's where you're at. But, he's the one that gets to make the sausage again, to quote Jim Irsay. So he's the one that you ask these questions to, and we'll see. He was very emphatic last year about defensive backs. Very emphatic that the secondary needed changes. And what happened? Cam Bynum, Mooney Ward. So, does he look at defensive line in that similar light this year? That I think is a question to see what happens in the offseason, because I just don't think it's as crystal clear based off what you need to do with Pierce, based off what you need to do with Daniel Jones. No first-round pick. To me, the resources aren't as obvious as they were this time last year.
All right, you want to do some boiler ball coming up in a moment?
Let's do it.
All right, we'll do that next. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I believe the term is trucked on Friday night. Purdue with a huge win over Indiana, 93-64, in a game that sounds exactly like the score would indicate. Kevin, it was over fairly early, and Purdue just kept adding on and adding on and adding on.
Are the kids in school yet?
Yes.
That was an ass kicking. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And, it's that's exactly what it was. And Purdue avenging that loss at Freedom Hall, at Assembly Hall earlier this year. And, man, did they avenge that one in a big way. And they start to set themselves up now for the little run towards the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. Here to tell us a little bit more about all of that, Bobby Rydell on the Purdue broadcasts all the time, kind enough to join us on a Monday morning on the Fan Morning Show and the Payless Liquors hotline. Bobby, as Kevin rightly pointed out, that was just a butt kicking on Friday night, was it not?
Hey guys, hey Kevin, hey Jeff, thanks for having me on. Yeah, that was definitely the response Purdue needed, considering the fact that they had that tough loss against Michigan, that highly anticipated matchup where Purdue felt like, hey, win that game against Michigan, not only put yourself maybe back in the conversation for potentially getting a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, but now give yourself a real fighting shot to get a Big Ten championship in the regular season. And unfortunately coming up short in that game, Michigan, tip your cap, they were phenomenal, especially in that first half. And so, there was, you're definitely down after that loss. And so to have a team like Indiana coming in, your arch rival who you'd already lost to earlier in the season at their place, I think that was kind of the perfect game for Purdue to kind of be able to rally the troops against. The crowd was super into it, of course, being in Indiana. And, the performance was great, right? Coming out, taking that lead early and never looking back. And, lots of different players on Purdue's team able to flourish in that game. And, hopefully that's kind of a springboard here down this home stretch of the season.
Bobby, as always, we appreciate the time. Do you remember your record against Indiana?
I do, unfortunately. I don't like you asking, but record was 2-4.
Yeah, I'm not asking, I guess, to go down, memory lane in terms of the game, but I guess I'm asking, and you obviously are an Indiana kid, so maybe it's a little different. But does it matter more? I guess, and I don't know if I asked you what your record was against Northwestern, I don't know if you rattle that off the top of your head. So maybe I have the answer, but I feel like for those three seniors, it Friday night had to mean quite a lot, even maybe if their words didn't say that.
Yeah, I did see an interview with Braden where he, kind of downplayed it and made it seem like it was any other game. And, I have a feeling deep down that's probably not the case. It just, especially Braden being an Indiana guy and his performances over his career versus Indiana had not been great. So I'm guessing there was definitely some added motivation between, he and Fletcher and Trey Kaufman-Renn especially. And so for those guys to, get that record to 500, I think had to mean a lot. I just said my record being 2-4. We only played 6 times when I was there because we didn't play twice my junior and senior year, which was unfortunate. But, that losing record to me to this day still bums me out. There's no doubt about that. And so I think for them not to have to say they had a losing record against IU eventually will maybe mean more to them down the road than it means now. Now they're in the thick of it and they have their goals on winning a national championship and getting back to a Final Four, and those guys have been able to accomplish a lot in their college careers. And so I could see where maybe that one game, in the moment doesn't feel like it's a big deal or as big a deal, but I think down the road they'll really appreciate the fact that they can say that they didn't have a losing record against their rival. And I think, from a rivalry standpoint, it's not been ideal. I feel like that you haven't had, both teams kind of in that top 25 consistently over the last handful of years. Feels like probably over the last, 15 years that when IU's been good, Purdue's been bad, or vice versa. There's been a couple of games here or there, but hopefully, I think from a rivalry standpoint, it'd be great if Coach DeVries is able to stay at Indiana for a little while, kind of build put some roots down, and then you could really maybe start to get a Coach DeVries versus Coach Painter dynamic. We had that great Coach Katie, Coach Knight dynamic all those years, which made the rivalry even more fun.
Bobby Buckets is with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. Of course, Purdue Global Radio Network. They've got Michigan State, I believe, a whiteout coming up on Thursday. You go back to Friday, Bobby, and boy, that flurry from Omer Meyer there in the second half was quite something there. I think at times he has shown the skill that, people have talked about him in an NBA light before. What do you think that ingredient could mean in the month of March where, if you're going to win 4, if you're going to win 6, certainly it can't just be those 3 and then, kind of waiting for somebody else to step up for you.
Yeah, no question. I think you're spot on with sort of his ability and where he could be an X factor. I kind of think back to that Michigan team that made the national championship with Trey Burke kind of leading the way, Tim Hardaway Jr., Glenn Robinson III, that whole group. They had 2 guys off their bench, Spike Albrecht and Nick Stauskas, who really contributed as young guys. I think they were both freshmen on that team that throughout their tournament run had plenty of big moments. Of course, we know about Spike's amazing first half in that national title game, but they, throughout the course of that tournament, stepped up and hit huge threes and kind of made big shots for them to propel them to get all the way to that national title game. And that's what you need. You need guys coming off the bench to step up and hit big shots and big moments to win 6 games in a row. It's pretty tough to have your just best guys carry you and make every single big shot throughout the course of a tournament. So Meyer certainly seems like someone on paper and based on some of the flashes he's shown that he could be a guy in March that comes through in some huge moments and hits some big shots. And the way he got hot there in that second half, and certainly I'm sure the rim for him looked really big. But what I was even more impressed by was he didn't really force bad shots. Even when he got hot, he still made a couple of really nice passes, made the right play, even during that flurry when he was playing at a super high level. And that just kind of showed some maturity to me and showed, just how much high quality basketball he's played as a young guy, because he still was out there making the right play, even though he was being aggressive, looking for a shot because he had it going. If he drew 2 defenders and had 2 guys on the ball, he was still making the right play. And I think he's someone that, of course, as he gets older, he's going to get more opportunity. But this year, I think there's still an avenue where he could be huge for us in March.
Bobby Rydell, part of the Boilers broadcasts on college basketball, joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. And Bobby, Matt Painter is so good at getting his team better throughout the course of the year and getting them ready for tournament play and peaking at the right time and doing things like that. What do you think he's learned about this team in the last 2-3 weeks?
That's a good question. I mean, I think, we've had some ups and downs this year, certainly way more ups, of course. I think sometimes because of the, expectations coming into the season, being the preseason team number 1, the fact that we've lost 5 games, can be disappointing. But in the fact that we're most likely not going to be able to win a Big Ten championship is disappointing, and there's no doubt about that. But still, we've had a phenomenal season overall with just 5 losses and got a ton of wins under our belt, a ton of nice wins. And it's still been a tremendous season overall. And still, our NCAA tournament goals, a Big Ten tournament championship goal can still be attained. And I think Coach has probably learned that, he wants to see more consistency game to game from his team. I think he's talked about that where there's some games where we really come out and are physical and forcing our will on the glass. And then there's other games that against, Illinois, Michigan, and granted, those are some of the better rebounding teams. So a lot of it has to do with the opposition. But those teams are coming in and into Mackey Arena and out rebounding Purdue and getting the better of us from an opportunity standpoint. And so I think he just wants to see more consistency. I think, he seems to be kind of playing around with some different lineup combinations more here as the season's gone along, because, that's really what it comes down to, is peaking at the right time in March and trying to find the best combinations from a roster standpoint. I think is going to be something important, which groups work best, which guys are playing at their best. And, inevitably, typically Coach Painter will shorten that rotation a little bit come tournament time. You get those extended timeouts. You just don't really need to rely on as much depth come March Madness. And so I'll be interested to see if Coach Painter kind of starts to shrink that rotation a little bit as we move closer to postseason play.
Bobby, last one from me. And again, you'll hear Rob and Bobby Buckets coming up Thursday. It's Purdue and Michigan State inside of Mackey. Do you like it when you see an opponent doubling Trey Kaufman-Renn? And I guess I go back to the start of the game. I mean, you see 2 doubles early and boom, sprayed out the 3s. Obviously, at one point, he's got the look like Jokic maybe there in the post and the beautiful cut by C.J. Cox and then kind of semi behind his head there for the layup. So as obviously an ardent supporter of Purdue, do you like to see the double, because you feel like it gets others involved, or are you more of I also am a fan of when they just single team Trey Kaufman-Renn, he can kind of go to work?
It's a good question. I think sometimes it's game-by-game basis. So when I see teams doubling Trey that don't typically double very much, that's kind of not their game in, game out strategy. I love it because it usually means they're not very good at doubling and then rotating out of said double teams. And then we end up getting wide open, horse shots or maybe a guy, they double, a guy dives to the rim. They do a poor job coming over to take the dive and we're getting layups and things like that. Then I love it because, Trey is a very player as far as I think that's something he's really gotten better at throughout the course of his career. He won't very often force shots through double teams. He'll make the right play, and then we get other guys involved, and we have plenty of quality shooters on our team. But there's other games where teams are much more disciplined with what they do and are better, and that's something they do kind of game in, game out. A team like Iowa State comes to mind, Nebraska. They're pretty disciplined with what they do because they do that game in, game out. Sometimes those situations, it's not as advantageous for Purdue because they're just much better at it. And then sometimes we don't get, the quality offense that we would get if Trey was isolated one-on-one because he's such a great ISO scorer. So sometimes it's kind of depends on the opponent, I suppose. But, I think Trey is such a good player that, whether teams are playing him one-on-one or whether he's getting doubled, he's usually – for the most part this year, done a great job making the right play. And we saw a lot of teams just doubling him a lot early in the season. And that was, I think, a big cause of why his, scoring output was down compared to last year because he came into this year with, a much better reputation as a legitimate scoring threat. And he had that attention of the opposition. And so, unsurprisingly so, he was not getting a lot of one-on-one opportunities because he's so good down there. And I think as the season's gone along, he's started to get a little bit more one-on-one opportunities, and some of those have certainly happened against teams that have really big front courts that, like Michigan, they just single covered him pretty much the whole game because they kind of trusted their size to try to limit him and make life difficult for him and take away the shooting, which I think is certainly a sound strategy. And, Trey missed a couple shots in that game he'd like to have back, even though he still had a great performance. But, yeah, it'll be interesting, and that's why matchups are so big in the tournament, right? You get a team that tries to do something that they're not great at because you have the personnel to make them do that. A lot of times that can work out in your favor.
I'm just curious, Bobby, favorite Winter Olympic sport after the last 2 weeks?
Favorite Winter Olympic sport? That's a good question. The hockey stuff yesterday was obviously fascinating, and loved seeing the USA take the gold medal. That was really cool. I watched that really neat documentary on Netflix about that 1980 team, the Miracle on Ice team. And I love that movie, Miracle, one of my favorite sports movies for sure. So I probably got to go hockey, but I got to say the skiing is pretty cool. I do like that. And the curling, of course, is kind of
you and Kevin. You and Kevin. Hey, always good to talk to you, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the season. We'll catch up with you down the road.
Yeah, nice chatting with you guys as well. Talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Bobby.
You bet. Bobby Rondale joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. You talk about a guy that just willing his way to what was he, a walk-on? Maybe the favorite all-time walk-on for Purdue?
Mark, he always starts off every interview with a genuine thank you for us having him on.
Yeah.
He's the only guest that does that.
Mm-hmm.
What a nice dude. Just a good,
very nice guy.
Human.
I don't know why.
I don't know him super well. I've heard great things about him, and I enjoyed the duo of him and Rob Blackman. Some great calls from Friday night for that duo, of course, in that ass kicking.
He probably knows you guys are just like simpatico when it comes with curling. So he's like, I can relate right now. I'm in a safe space.
He even says thank you to Jake, I think, and John.
He's just a nice guy. Nothing wrong with that. When you go back to that game on Friday night, Kevin, what was your one big takeaway? To me, I kind of thought we had talked about it on Friday morning. I didn't think it'd be 30 points plus, but I thought that it would be a pretty in control game for Purdue. But as that thing just kept picking up speed, and it got worse and worse and worse for Indiana. What was your big takeaway of that game when it was all said and done Friday night?
Well, I would say just the sheer dominance, right out of the gate. And then, boom, you start the second half. I think you're always kind of curious when you build that lead. Is there just human nature where there's natural let up in that? And none of it. And then, we brought up Omer Meyer with Bobby there, his own flurry there. So, I thought it was an impressive statement from the senior class. And, I think that's really healthy for you. And now the question becomes, okay, can they take care of business Thursday night at home against Michigan State? You do that, you've probably secured double bye in the Big Ten tournament, which I think is important. And, we did the mock selection. I don't know if you saw that over the weekend. The committee comes together. They do a mock selection a couple of weeks before the actual bracket is filled out. I think we're less than 3 weeks away. They had Purdue as a 2 seed. So they still, view Purdue on that 2 line. So, you beat Michigan State, you're probably looking at, I think, a top 2 seed, no questions asked. If you got on a crazy run, you might even push for a 1 seed. Because if you win the Big Ten tournament, in some way, shape, or form, you're getting a couple more huge wins on a neutral floor. But, if we just want to live in a little bit more of it was kind of a middle bubble here. I think if you take care of business at home on Thursday, we're looking at a top 2 seed come bracket time.
The goal is to get them to downtown Indianapolis by the time the Final Four gets here. But got a long way to go there. In the meantime, Mark, let's get some business done and take a little check down here.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Kevin, we continue to navigate this strange space that we exist in with the Indiana Pacers. They lose to the Mavericks 134-130 at the Fieldhouse last night. Chris Middleton had 25 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists for the Mavericks, who snapped a 10-game losing streak. But the Pacers have the second worst record in the NBA right now, and it feels like kind of all hands on deck to try and get that protected top 4 pick in the lottery. And to do that, your best chance of doing that is to have one of the 4 worst records. Have you started to soften your conflicted feelings the way that the rest of the season is going to play out for the Pacers now? Is you want them to play well, but it's not great for the team if they win right now, which is odd because they've always been a team that finds a way to win. And I think they still won 7 of the last 13, haven't they?
I'll be honest, I have no idea. I'm so lethargic when it comes to the Pacers the rest of the season. And I get it. I want to be very clear. The Pacers are operating in the right manner, but Al Davis is turning over in his grave. Just lose, baby. Right?
It's just odd.
Just lose, baby.
It's just odd.
So they're doing it. I mean, I guess if we want to stretch, Kobe Brown looks kind of good. Jarris Walker showing something, but I don't. Just get me through these 2 months and get to Mother's Day because I love my mom and I love my wife, but we've got some lottery.
Last night started a 4-game homestand that will continue tomorrow night when the Philadelphia 76ers come to town. Thursday, the Charlotte Hornets will be here, and then Sunday, on March the 1st, the Memphis Grizzlies will be here. Philadelphia's always, they're kind of not playing all that well right now either, but Charlotte, that's a team that wants to keep winning.
Well, if you look at the schedule the rest of the way, a lot of the like-minded tank teams are largely gone.
Mm-hmm.
You played 3 of them right out of the gate here, Wizards twice and Dallas, but you don't have a ton of those the rest of the way. So just to remind everybody, if you finish with one of the 3 worst records in the league, which right now the Pacers are positioned to do so, you will have a 52% chance at a top 4 pick. So it's not a slam dunk, but a 52% chance. Those are the best odds you can have. I want to say it's like a 13 or 14% chance at the number 1 pick.
All right. Meanwhile, we take one more look back to the 2026 Olympic Games in Milan Cortina. And yesterday in Milan, Team USA's hockey team wins its third gold medal ever in the Olympics. Their first since 1980, 46 years to the day after the miracle on ice. This is the most, to me, as a kind of a hockey guy, most amazing stat of the entire tournament. The power play kill for the United States was 18 for 18 during this tournament. Not one single power play goal given up by Team USA. That's unheard of, Kevin.
When they had to kill the 5-on-3 yesterday, and it was like a 90-second 5-on-3, if I remember correctly. Oh, my word. Again, I don't watch much hockey at all, but when they show the shape of what the ice looks like on the 5-on-3, I'm like, wait, that's it? We literally only have 3 dudes out there and they get 5? That was wild to watch. And, boy, Connor Hellebuyck, great flow, great color, and hell of a goalie.
Yeah, and people in Canada are complaining now about the 3-on-3 rules, which is fairly standard for both the National Hockey League and Olympic play. I'm just going to remind people, Mark Dykton, that the 3 best players in the world, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, and Cale Makar, play for Team Canada. You have the 3 best players in the world, and you lose in 3-on-3. I can't feel bad for you.
Yeah. Kick rocks, Canada.
There you go.
Nice A.
I like that. So
Mark Kennedy, take this finger. I would do it if we weren't on YouTube, Mark.
USA wins its most
Is he
medals.
Mark with a C or a K? I hope a K.
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
USA wins its most medals in Winter Olympics history for the team. 33 medals overall, 12 of them gold. Norway, of course, had 41 medals, 18 of them gold. They are to the Winter Olympics what we are to the Summer Olympics.
Yeah, and that's an annual thing, right? Norway's always really good. Those Scandinavian countries, right? Aren't they really good?
Yeah.
Sweden, Finland, maybe.
He's Mark with a C, by the way. So when we have our annual meeting of the Marks, I'll have to have a word with him.
In case you're interested,
have a stone waiting for his region.
You need to start up. Pickleball got really famous. You could make curling famous in Indianapolis. Maybe start your own little place.
Will pickleball be a Summer Olympic sport in your lifetime, Jeff?
We'll have to ask David Wood, our resident pickleball player and expert over there.
We got flag football coming in 2028, so pickleball might not be too far behind.
Yeah. Final table for medals: Norway 41 overall, the United States 33, and host country Italy had 30 for the third most medals. So it's always good when the home team does well there. You were talking about some of the other teams up there. Switzerland, they were 6th. The Netherlands were 9th, and Sweden was 10th. So did okay for Team USA. What else can we tell you about? We've already talked about college basketball extensively this morning, what happened over the weekend. Also, in addition to that, Purdue win over Indiana. Butler got a win over Xavier, 80-75. Congrats again to Center Grove, who wins state at wrestling this past weekend. Indy Star had a terrific article. Please go find it and look it up. Michael White, their wrestler of the year, 190 pounds. He and his family were homeless just a couple of years ago. Always just great reporting, but a great story, and good to see a kid have some good things happen to him.
Yeah, great read. Shout out to Joshua Heron. Excellent work on that piece there. Reminder, we've got the girls basketball state finals coming up on Saturday. Not a ton of local flavor. 3A will have Roncalli. They'll take on Belmont, and that's undefeated Center Grove, scratching and clawing to a 29-26 semi-state win over Lawrence Central. They'll get Norwell. We will have IndyCar season opener in St. Pete coming up on Sunday. And one more on the Butler front. Shout out to Johan Troy. Great effort off the bench for Butler on Saturday. Seemed like a great atmosphere inside. Anytime I think Xavier's there, good atmosphere. Michael Ajayi, I know Thad Mott has chatted with us weekly, but I think he's really lived up to it. He's first off, I think his effort is tremendous. He was outstanding. So it is 2 in a row for Butler. They'll go at Villanova, one of the tougher games, probably the toughest game they have left, coming up on Wednesday.
For you also, Kevin, Jacob Bridgman allowed himself to, early before the tournament, visualize winning at Riviera and walking up 18. That came true for him yesterday as he wins the PGA Tour event at Riviera yesterday. A shot better than Rory McIlroy. And I say this in a complimentary way for Scotty Scheffler. He finished outside the top 10, still had a nice weekend. He finished 66-65 on the weekend, finished 12th. But that's his worst finish since he tied for 20th at the Players' Championship almost a year ago. An amazing stretch of golf.
Hell, he was lucky to make the cut. He was struggling there on
Didn't he have
Friday.
to make a par putt to make it on 18?
Yeah. So
sounds like he needs to get arrested again to get back in the groove. You just spend some time in the clink again.
Where did that come from out of nowhere?
Just saying, get yourself right.
I think Mark might be onto something there.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. All right.
Some hard time. You get locked in the zone all of a sudden.
Perspective, right, Mark?
Exactly. Life on the outside is a whole lot different.
By the way, you feeling better this week?
Yes.
Good. That's good. That was a rough week for you last week, but we're glad you persevered and made it through. So we appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in? I think we've covered it all right.
No, I think you covered it all right there. Again, nothing tonight from a big time combine standpoint, but we'll be out there tomorrow. Chris Ballard at 5:30, Shane Steichen at 4:30, and then I believe we'll have the head coach and GM on some of our shows throughout the week. And once we get the exact schedule on that, we'll let them know.
All right. That's what's happening in the world of sports. More here on the morning show in a moment on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The trail for South Bend, Washington. They average 78 points a game. That's the best in all the final 8 teams. Average winning margin 28-2. And Skyler Diggins is their key player.
Boy, she is phenomenal. Averages 24 points a game. That's good for 6th in the state. She's a stat stuffer, 6 rebounds, almost 5 steals a game. You're going to love this girl's game. It is flashy, and she's a great passer to go along with her.
Time now for the player of the game, and this is pretty easy. Skyler Diggins with just a sensational effort, 27 points, 17 rebounds.
Well, her whole line was outstanding. You see her getting inside and scoring. She struggled from the outside, so she took it off penetration to get easy baskets. Offensive rebounds, of those 17 rebounds, 10 of them were on the offensive end. She had an outstanding game.
She certainly did. Skyler Diggins, and keep in mind now, this young lady is only a sophomore.
Certainly one of the most decorated girls basketball players ever in our state. That would be Skyler Diggins. Some legends there in Jerry Baker and Jane Schott on the call. I believe JMV might have been the sideline reporter for that state finals. Talk about certainly things really deteriorating quick there. But no, nonetheless, Skyler Diggins, incredible career at South Bend, Washington, at Notre Dame, of course, as well. And then on to the WNBA, did win a gold medal, speaking of the Olympics there in Tokyo. An incredible career, and these are some of the stars you can watch coming up this weekend. Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Borden and Fremont in 1A, Eastern and Oak Hill in 2A. We'll get some local flavor, 3A and 4A. Roncalli versus Belmont in 3A. Center Grove, and that undefeated season continues. They've got Norwell coming up. Again, Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where you can see it all. Don't miss it. Nothing compares to attending an IHSA basketball state finals in person. Head to ihsa.org right now for schedules and ticket information.
Listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Mark, maybe you know. I saw yesterday both LeBron James and LaMelo Ball were wearing different colored sneakers in their games. I've seen that before, but is that becoming a trend, or is that just a couple of guys in the same day having to do it?
I think that's becoming a trend. LaMelo Ball needs to less worry about his shoes and staying off the streets of Charlotte. Have you seen he's been wreaking havoc out
He's kind
there?
of like one of those Georgia football players when it comes to behind-the-wheel activity.
I mean, good Lord. I saw a video over the weekend. It was like there's a news report of people like they have like a Facebook page of like, I saw LaMelo Ball. I stayed on the sidewalk because he went flying past through a red light. And there's all these people like, I saw him too. I had to swerve out of the way. I'm like, that's insane.
We can't miss his car.
No, you can't. Well, unless you run into it.
Well, that's true.
It's like the Facebook threads. Don't date this individual. Don't follow LaMelo Ball in a car.
I mean, it is wild. It's just like he's just wreaking havoc on the streets of Charlotte.
And then he dropped
around.
37 in a win for him last night, too.
Yeah. I guess take the wins and then take the speeding tickets, too.
Man, oh, man, oh, man. All right, that brings us to our GOATs of the week, good and bad. Mark Dykton, kick us off.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
All right, we'll get started off. Kevin Bowen, I am going to yield to you so that you can have the first shot at the GOAT of the week. You want to start positive, negative, where you go?
Oh, I got to go positive after what we witnessed yesterday overseas. And I am going to Friday night. And, Mark, I don't know if necessarily on radio it'll come across. So if you could somehow find the video and retweet this. Did you guys happen to see VCU in St. Louis on Friday night by chance?
I missed that.
Okay.
Did not.
Okay, so, St. Louis coached by Josh Schertz, having a great year. Game ends, and it gets a little ugly, okay? So we're, kind of melee right there at the end of the game. Bench is clear, these two teams. Official Barry Evans, He literally lifted up this VCU guard, like picture the figure skating partners lifting each other up in the air, and he removed the VCU player from the scrum in one of the more beautiful fashions, well-executed fashions I've ever seen. This official's probably given up, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years in age, and was able to get this done. So shout out to Barry Evans.
What would you score him?
10. Russian judge would even give him a 10.
10.
Unbelievable how beautifully executed this was. Officials, get into the mix. Might not end well for you. Look at Jeff Van Gundy at the bottom of the pile of Alonzo Mourning's leg.
Dragged along.
Barry Evans, shout out to him.
All right. I like that one. I am going to go with Team USA as a whole, not because they won the gold medal, but after their celebration, when they're taking their pictures and they invite the children of Johnny Gaudreau down there. And, of course, Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew were killed attending their sister's wedding when they're out riding their bikes and were run over by a motorist. Johnny had been a part of Team USA, probably would have been on that team yesterday. It got really dusty, men, in my house for a couple of minutes when the Gaudreaus were honored in that way on the ice. It was an emotional moment anyway, but for them to go out of their way to call the kids down there and have them lifted up over the ice and carefully taken over and be part of the picture, and the little ones flashing the number 1 sign with their fingers. It's getting dusty in here, me just talking about it, Kevin. It really is.
Yeah, it was very emotional. I didn't think the eyes would be welling up before noon on Sunday. But
I'm going to co-sign on that. That was mine as well, because that got me as a father. That got me as a human being. That just got me as a sports fan. That sports is just generational and everything like that. Just a horrible tragedy. And the fact that they keep that spirit alive, carrying his jersey around, having the kids out there, that was something special. And I agree. Got dusty in there, too. My daughter's like, I was trying to explain the story to him and all that stuff. Like, oh, that's why you're crying. I'm like, yep. That's why.
I saw my 17-year-old a few minutes after that in a different room, and I was talking to him, and he goes, "Hey, what happened to your eyes?" Apparently, they were all red.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment, and just made you proud for that whole situation.
All right. Having said that, Kevin Bowen, who are you giving the thumbs down to this week?
Well, I'll go to the silver medalist, Nathan McKinnon, with one of the more idiotic quotes I've ever seen after the game. He uttered the phrase of, "You be the judge of who was the better team today." Well, Nathan, the Olympics have been going on since how long? When was our first Olympics?
Winter Olympics was what?
First ever Olympics, period.
The nude guys in Athens, so way back then.
Exactly, the nude men in Athens.
That's the Mark Dykton way to describe that, by the way.
We've been doing this thing for over 100 years, and they give out these medals, Nathan, and the medals have a color on them that indicate who got first, second, and third. And just to refresh your memory, Nathan, gold for first, silver for second, and then bronze gets third. Nathan, you have the silver medal, which means you're the first loser. That means you are second place in the 2026 men's hockey tournament. So who was the better team today? That would be the team with the gold medal. Those would be the United States of America.
This one's rough for me, Kevin, because Nathan is my second favorite hockey player in the world right now. And all you got to do is be disappointed, accept your silver medal, and move on. I get that. But here's my response to Nathan McKinnon talking about his team yesterday.
That puck's going in. He got the paddle, Boosh.
For Canada. There's Mitch Marner. Marner drops the net. Oh, Taves had a wide open goal. Put it through the crease.
Marner looks for Taves on the backside. That puck's going in. He got the paddle, Boosh.
Wow.
No, Connor Hellebuck was the best player in the world on the best team in the world yesterday. And the United States, they don't need to worry about anything. They won that hockey game 2-1. And I thought it was really interesting. They had Brady Tkachuk mic'd up. Did you see him on the bench in the middle of the game saying, "Hey guys, we're going to win this game"? And it was 1-1 at that point in time. And it seemed like everything was tilting in Canada's favor, but not yesterday. It wasn't an upset along the lines of the kids in 1980, but Connor Hellebuck said, "No, not today, not on my watch."
Sure, lowercase goat was the Canadians as well for not being able to figure him out.
No, just Nathan McKinnon for that statement.
Oh, yeah.
And I was rebutting that right there.
There you go. Mine would be Tyrese Halliburton getting diagnosed with shingles, because I saw that news last night and I was like, oh God, I feel for that guy, because I know what he's going through. I don't know what the degree of the pain threshold he has, but mine was considered a mild case, and I felt like my skin was on fire for like 5 or 6 days straight. So the fact that he's going through that is not a fun situation. I've seen a bunch of listeners chiming in saying they've had it before and it's awful, and some horror stories of locations where, this and that has happened, where it's been like long-term issues and everything like that. So it is not a fun situation. It affects all ages and everything like that. So once you get it, get those shingles vaccines, because then you'll prevent it from getting it in the near future and going forward. So not good for Tyrese Halliburton. I feel for him, because that is not fun at all. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Good to know. Also, on behalf of our faithful texter, Jalen, got to give a nod to the Indy Ignite. They're 10-2. They just keep winning volleyball matches.
They lead the league there. Yeah, went to a match the other week. They dusted Grand Rapids in 4 sets. Great atmosphere over there. Fisher's Event Center is awesome for those that have not been. So yeah, excellent time. 91's my favorite player. I do not know her name, but 91 is my favorite player.
Ooh, I will check it out real quick. See if I can find out who 91 is.
I think of 91 as Ron Artest.
There you go.
She's got great fire, great energy. Yeah, it's a fun watch.
They will be at home Sunday to play Omaha at 2 p.m.
The Supernovas, right?
Supernovas. All I know is I like it. You're asking number 91. I think that's Blake Moeller.
Is it Blake Moeller?
That's a middle blocker, 6'1" out of Purdue.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Or no. I take that back. The line was wrong. Mia Twaniga. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds.
The setter?
That sounds more right. 91.
Yeah,
She's
Twaniga.
setter?
That's what it is. Yeah. They had the lines kind of mixed up, but I got it now. All right. Anything else going on, Mark? For good, bad, ugly of the week? All right. That's good stuff. All right. We'll be back to wrap up the show. James Boyd is off meeting with his brethren at The Athletic as they get together every year during the Combine. But Kevin and I and Mark are here to wrap it up for you as we continue in a moment. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
An oldie but a goodie classic rock song right there, Mark Dykton.
You know it, one of the all-time great bands.
Yeah, I like that one. If you're looking for some fun basketball to watch, none of our local teams are really in action tonight. But the doubleheader this evening on ESPN is first game is Louisville and North Carolina. Second one is Houston at Kansas. So,
will Darren Peterson play? Will he play the whole
it's
game?
a question that ends with a day and why.
He
I
played
mean, like on the schedule. I mean, gosh, can't wait for tonight. It's great. 9 o'clock, Houston, Kansas. Let's go. But yet, 2 weeks ago, I remember getting my hopes up, and next thing you know, flu-like symptoms. And I believe he warmed up in that game. Like, I mean, just at least give it a go, man.
Well, he did come off a game where he did play. I mean, he didn't play his best game, but he did play 32 minutes the other day.
Boy, now you sound like a member of the Peterson family.
No, I'm just saying he did play 32 minutes.
How many games this year has he played every minute?
Never.
Or like,
not
every minute, but you know what I'm saying.
He reminds me of Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. Oh, my arm, it's broken. That's what it reminds me of. He just decides he's hurt.
That uniform, it looks good on you, though.
Oh, Mark, that gave me a hearty laugh. Thank you for that. That was great.
What's on your docket for the household tonight on a Monday where you don't necessarily have to watch sports or need to? You might
he's
take
Monday
a day
Night
off.
Raw.
Oh, bite your tongue. Yeah, Elimination Chambers come up on Saturday. We got the Go Home
Jeff.
Monday Night Raw show. What are we
let me-
talking about here?
You gotta let me poke the bear a little
Brock
bit.
Lesnar's showing up. Who knows what's going to happen? Kick rocks. There's nothing on.
Every Monday night is set for you.
You know it.
So
Yeah,
what do you,
tomorrow's kind of a weird one in Bloomington. Indiana Northwestern tomorrow night. Again, IU still needs one more win of serious substance. They'll get Michigan State in Assembly Hall coming up this weekend, so there's an opportunity. I believe they're at Ohio State at one point. That could be two bubble teams squarely, so like they could get it there too. Northwestern, I think it's one of the wilder stats out there. You know they've beaten Indiana 5 straight times in men's basketball,
which is odd. Just odd.
You know how many times? You know Bob Knight's record against Northwestern?
Did he ever? I bet he didn't lose more than 3 games.
50-3.
Yeah.
All time. And Indiana has lost 5 straight to Northwestern. Northwestern, not good this year, to be clear. Trey Singleton, shout out to the Jeffersonville product. He is starting and playing notable minutes for Northwestern. So that's just one of those that falls in the category of can't lose. You know, when you get to late February, early March, and you're a bubble team, yes, at some point you got to win one that really, really matters positively, but you also need to avoid the big-time negative. Tomorrow night down there would be one of them.
I think it's the only time they played Northwestern. I don't think they played them earlier, did they? This is only one time this year.
How many teams are in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
How many teams do you play twice? Who do they play twice?
Not
Purdue.
very many.
I mean, you can't play more than what?
Minnesota. I know they play Minnesota a couple times. Wisconsin once, I think. I'll have to go back and look at the schedule. But yeah, it's, pretty soon. I just wonder how far we are away from having like 4 20-team conferences with 2 10-team divisions in all of college sports.
I know we mentioned it earlier, but I do want to double back on just the horrific story that we saw over the weekend with the death of Rondale Moore. I think anybody that certainly watched him, I mean, electrifying talent, his shiftiness, his quickness. I was always struck by how much bigger he played than his size. The clip was going around this weekend. It was definitely a game of, I remember where exactly I was when, they pulled off the upset over Ohio State. Night game, Chris Fowler on the call, and him just running through that Ohio State defender to kind of ice the game, and that moment for Purdue, and obviously it's known, I think, to so many people as the Tyler Trent game, and I know Tyler Trent's family shared on social, and for those that missed it, I'll give that to you right now. This is from their foundation over the weekend. They said this, quote, "Words feel inadequate to express how deeply saddened we are at the passing of Rondale Moore. Our hearts and prayers go out to his family and friends. While we don't know all the surrounding details, if you are hurting, please reach out. You are not alone. You matter. We vividly remember certain plays that Rondale made that helped Tyler's prediction become a reality with Purdue beating Ohio State in 2018. He and Tyler had formed a sweet friendship that season, with Tyler sending him game day texts of encouragement. Rondale will always be a part of our story."
It's tough, man. And there are a few people that were texting in today as well. I think people want to comment on it, be a part of the conversation, because it's so hard to fathom and you're still just trying to, even if you didn't know him personally, you knew him certainly from watching on TV and you know of him, and you think of this light, right? Somebody who's really excellent at what he does at Purdue, good enough to play in the National Football League, beset by really tough injuries, and just 25 years old. It's hard to put it all together in your noggin, man.
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I think one thing that I definitely underestimate is just the grind and the ultimate taxing nature of rehabbing from physical injuries and what that does to your entire life. Obviously, it impacts you mentally. For those that haven't been, following the Rondale Moore NFL story, he hasn't played since 2023, multiple ACLs. And, what does that do to you? And, honestly, the physical rehab, again, probably challenges you more mentally. And, the commitment that takes, missing out on something you've done at such a dominant level your entire life. Obviously, there's probably a medication aspect to it that, you feel like whatever, there's a level of reliance on it or, all of that, probably plays an impact. And, that is something that I think we oftentimes forget about. You just kind of label, hey, injury prone, this or that. But, behind the scenes, there's a lot that I think goes with trying to get back, especially when, again, you've been such an incredible athlete at every level, whether it was New Albany, whether it was Trinity High School, whether it was Purdue, and, he's a second-round pick. And, just, again, obviously, beyond thoughts and prayers with their family.
Yeah, it is. And we had a couple of people text in. I know Raj and Carmel had texted in talking about the toll you could see that taking on Andrew Luck and his decision to ultimately retire. And, we all have our different opinions on the retirement of Andrew Luck, whether it was the timing happening right on the verge of a season and things of that nature. But it's hard to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. When in Andrew Luck's case, it had been going on for 2.5, 3 years, where it was just something where he was always rehabbing, always hurting, always trying to get back, where that becomes almost the dominant theme of your life.
Yeah, I've always said this about the Andrew Luck retirement. If you could simple it into, just a sentence or two, basically, the physical toll of rehabbing the respective injuries he had was starting to impact his life as a human, as a new husband, as a soon-to-be father, those other titles. And it got to a point where, in his eyes, it was impacting his life so much, and he couldn't compartmentalize it enough to where he decided enough was enough. Like, if I could try to summarize it in 30 seconds, that's probably what I would say about, his situation.
And if you're in a similar situation, not knowing if you can talk to anybody, text or call 988. That's the suicide and crisis hotline. They will have 24/7 access. You can talk to a trained specialist and get the help you need. If you can't reach out to family and friends, talk to someone through there. 988.
Thank you, Mark, for that.
Yeah. I almost feel like in today's world, too, that we're all not too far removed from knowing somebody or having a family member or a close friend or someone maybe you've worked with in the past who's dealing with stuff like this. It just, the more people talk about it, and the more we realize that this happens to a lot of people, sometimes almost everybody at some point in time. I think we're all better off, aren't we, Mark? I would think so.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agree.
So take care of those around you. Take care of yourself. And just a horrible, horrible story to hear about Rondale Moore there. All right, so turn the page for looking forward to something that we do enjoy every single year. Kevin, tomorrow we'll be broadcasting from the Combine. James will be joining us from there. Hope to have Chris Ballard on Wednesday on our show. Hopefully things work out that way. And then at some point, John will have Shane Steichen on his show as well. We've been talking about this Colts team and their offseason and their needs and what they likely need to do. Anything you expect to find out new or different or interesting this week during the Combine that maybe we didn't know about?
Well, I think the biggest yes or no is Charvarius Ward planning to play football for you in 2026? He was debating retirement at the start of the offseason. Is he still debating it? Has he given you an answer, yes or no? And again, like we debated a little bit earlier in the show, and we had Joel Erickson on, we asked him this question, does that matter? It's one thing for Charvarius Ward to say, hey, I'm going to play in 2026, but, I've always said this about guys when it comes to debating retirement. Once you think about it, you're probably a lot closer than you're willing to admit. And, in his case, he pretty much said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, he pretty much said if I get another concussion, then I definitely would retire. So, should that impact where cornerback falls on the needs list? So I think that's a question you have. And again, Ballard and Steichen will meet the media tomorrow, late tomorrow, 4:30 and 5:30 respectively, Steichen and Ballard. And then, as you said, hopefully we can get them on our respective shows at some point this week.
Are you at all remotely interested in hearing what Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee are up to, or anything they have to say?
Yeah, I think you always care to a level about what the other teams in the division are. Obviously, when you're drafting 47 overall, it's very, very difficult to predict how that's going to unfold. By the way, speaking of, I brought this up earlier. We had Bobby Rondale on, the great Purdue analyst, alongside Rob Blackman. I said how nice he was to always say thank you when he comes on air. He just shot me a text. He goes, "Thanks for having me on. It was fun chatting." How many times do you get text from our guests out of the blue saying thank you for having me on?
No, I'm usually just Mark getting mad at us for something.
Top 3 nicest human in the world.
Yeah.
He's right there.
Unbelievable.
Usually it's like, lose this number, don't call me again. Okay.
I was going to say, yeah. Mark hears no a lot.
All right, Mark, quick preview for the Monday night folks tonight.
I mean, yeah, if you don't think Darren Peterson's going to suit up, turn on Monday Night Raw. Get some wrestling on.
By the way, thoughts everybody in the Northeast just getting pounded with snow right now.
The hockey team had to fly back through Miami.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so certainly, best to everybody out there. And I'm curious if that impacts Combine travel, for players and for, obviously teams that are out east and media out east as well.
Probably, but we've seen how that can go down here. So imagine that in a huge, huge, huge city like New York or something like that. All right, that's going to wrap it up for our show today. Thanks, as always, to everybody for being here. We talked about Bobby Rydell. That was great stuff. Joel A. Erickson stopping by to talk Colts with us for a little while. That was a lot of fun as well. Coming up later on today, you'll hear Jake Query talk about the Purdue-Indiana game a little bit further, get his take on the upcoming Combine. And, of course, the thoughts of the one and only JMV come your way at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll see you bright and early from the Combine tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Enjoy your day.